think now, in 2019, how players are looked after is probably very, very different to what it was in the...
Yep. Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. You were listening to Tony Bishop talking to Paul Smith. We're hoping to have Paul Smith in at some point in the not-too-distant future. Very interesting character, has had a very interesting life in and around cricket, and we're hoping that he'll come on at some time, maybe for the third or fourth test. That would be fantastic. And just some more of the content that we're providing for you on Guerrilla Cricket. I am Gorilla Hendo, Nigel Henderson. I'm joined now by a man in a very fetching waistcoat. Who could that man be in that? Such a fashionable man. Beautiful. What sort of colour is that? Suede colour? Suede sort of brown?
Yes.
Chocolate? Light chocolate? Caramac?
Beige.
Beige, all right then, beige. He's a beige. He must be a New Zealand fan. No, he's not. He's a West Indies fan, really. It's Dave Brooke.
Hello, Hendo.
Morning,
Hello,
Dave.
everyone.
Morning.
Morning, afternoon, evening.
Yeah, I lose track. I lose track of what time of the day it is. My brain is so muddled. I keep thinking it's Thursday at 3 o'clock, and it's Sunday at 10 o'clock? 11 o'clock?
Where you are.
Yes, where we are. Where you are, maybe it's completely different. It may
Exactly.
Be, I feel like maybe I should be in Singapore or something.
I mean, I will say it's unlikely to be Thursday wherever you are.
It is unlikely to be Thursday wherever you are. Yeah, unless, of course, it's in one of those parallel parts of the multi-universe, in which case this commentary is going out, I don't know, in some far reach of the solar system.
If you subscribe to the multiverse theory, it is definitely Thursday in some universe somewhere.
Exactly. That is exactly my point. And in that universe, Zach Crawley has gone to his 100. But in this universe, Dominic Sibley is 18 not out. Zach Crawley has gone for 25, and England are 52 for 1. They lead by 98 at lunch, and that's probably more than we could have hoped for as England followers, if not fans. Dave, what do you think, Dave?
Well, speaking as a neutral...
Of course.
Well, actually, I do have a vested interest in. I'm afraid to say I did back South Africa to win this Test match when they went out to 5-2 one stage.
When was that?
On halfway through day one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But given what happened in the last session yesterday, the sort of some of the pessimism that was perhaps about England's prospects,
Absolutely.
England come right back into this game, and obviously the last session yesterday was the highlight with the bowling, but we were debating Crawley's knock earlier today. At least he got 25, and who's to say it isn't going to be a low-scoring third and fourth innings as well?
And in a positive manner, he was quite positive in defence. He was getting right on the front foot to Kahisa Rabada, which is not easy. In fact, the one time he didn't get a proper stride in was the delivery he was caught off, kind of playing a slightly flat-footed drive. But the pitch is at a really interesting place because it is still possible to score runs on it, both off front and back foot. But we've seen the ball start to keep low a little bit. Kahisa Rabada got one that shot through low, which Crawley just kept out, and then the next ball climbed on him and hit him on the arm, I think. So there's plenty happening, and England, as you say, England might not need that big a lead to make it very difficult for South Africa indeed in the fourth innings.
You can be seduced, can't you, by the fact that England have only one wicket down, and you think, oh, actually, maybe this pitch isn't so bad for batting. But we do see that wickets have gone in clusters. Well, they always go in clusters with England, it appears. But it also happened to South Africa yesterday. If you bowl in a disciplined manner, I think that's the most important thing. You don't have to be bowling at enormous pace.
Well, you're a disciplined man. You're a disciplined man.
I'm a disciplined man, but it doesn't look like Henrik Nortje is, because he's lying on his side, finally getting to his feet. And it looks like opening the bowling after the luncheon interval, as they say on all good broadcasts. It's going to be Vernon Philander.
Settle down where pretty girls are, well, you know that I'm around. I kiss 'em and I love 'em, 'cause to me they're all the same.
Two slips in the gully, bowls to Sibley. It's really full, and he drives without really following through with the shot. It goes at a reasonable pace up to mid-on, and there is no run.
Werner Philander from the Weinberg end, where he bowled his first spell. This is the end where there's the
crack.
more significant crack, and Werner Philander's just going to try and wobble the ball either way onto that crack. As Kevin Peterson said before the start of play, that if Werner Philander sometimes doesn't know which way the ball's going to go out the hand, so how on earth can you know as a batter?
Well, indeed. I've often thought that about bowlers, even wild ones. Philander's in, bowls. This is wider of the stump and a little bit shorter. And Sibley just props forward on the front foot and allows this to pass.
Let's jingle up Dominic Sibley.
Efficient batting. He made huge runs, the rumour spread by word of mouth. This guy's really talented. Dominic Sibley. Dominic Sibley.
It sounds like Dominic Sibley as reimagined by Adam and the Ants to me. Is that what it was meant to sound like?
Dom Sibley. Dom Sibley, ridicule is nothing to be scared of. I don't think that's exactly what it was going for.
Pretty close.
I mean, if ever a cricketer was less jingle friendly, I think it would be
Dominic
Sibley. He just doesn't look like a jingle type of cricketer. Some of them do.
Well, do you know, did you hear this last week, that Rog, one of our other commentators, was out in New Zealand in a pub as Philander comes in to bowl to Sibley, straight a ball. He gets his bat out in front of pad and pushes quite nicely, in quite relaxed fashion up to mid-on. Rog was there, and Dominic Sibley was there with his parents and his grandparents and everyone else, and he wanted a particular table. Rog threw Dominic Sibley's granny out of her chair. He demanded the table. He took the table from the Sibleys and threw Dominic Sibley's granny. And that's the right way. They've got to learn, haven't they? They've got to learn. You've got to give up as a professional cricketer. You've got to give up your
he's
seat
the
to
son of a cricket administrator, of course. His father was commercial director of the ECB for a short, inglorious period, which is when cricket disappeared off free-to-air TV under Mr. Sibley Senior's watch.
A coincidence? In that case, we're not going to support him anymore. Flicks this away quite nicely to mid-wicket. Dean Elgar has to run round, then has to swivel to throw on his favoured left hand. And they get through for the one.
Would that not be blaming the sons for the sins of the father?
Well, no, indeed.
Well, we kind of would be, yeah.
No, we can't blame the sons. That's true. I was just pointing out the, if not the sins, the decisions of.
It's interesting. I didn't know that. So,
interesting trivia.
While not related to John Crawley, he does have cricketing antecedents.
Indeed. Have we had any tweets, by the way, since we came?
I don't know whether you were talking about cricketers' alternative careers before the break. About Matthew Wade, did we have this one? Where Matthew Wade went away and did a builder's apprenticeship a few years ago. This comes from Jack Quigley.
Right.
When he thought his days of international cricket were over. And the best story, of course.
As Philander is in, bowls to Denley, who gets that right leg back as a second line of defence outside the off-stump defence.
Best story from Jack is Tim Payne.
Right.
Who was about to retire and work as a sales rep for Kookaburra before that ball tampering thing.
Brett Lee, up until a few years into his Test career, was working as a salesman in a men's tailoring shop.
Fitting people up. Was he going around suits?
Yes, fitting people up for suits.
I can't do an Australian accent of that. Some people could, that we know. The lead is now 99, Denley 9, Sibley 19, lots of nines involved. 2 slips in the gully, in comes Philander, bustling in, clipped, a little bit airily. He timed it well, Denley, but it was only just short of Dean Elgar, who there stands there and think, I so nearly could have had that, or it was interesting just for a split second, but it fell short of him. And so Denley, fortuitously for England, survives. And
Denley can find ways like that of getting out.
Yes.
Especially when he middles them and they go straight to fielders. I have seen him out a couple of occasions like that.
He hits the fielders a lot, mostly on the ground.
Yeah, we have talked about that a lot, that he plays some glorious shots. Sometimes he's out there for sort of 10 or 15 balls before scoring, but he's played 3 lovely cover drives straight to extra, backward point and mid-off. Just unfortunate, really. 3 wickets gone down today in the 24 overs that we've had. 61 runs scored. I hope you all got in on the GPL at the end of the or just before the lunch break.
We had a few entries. 1, 2, 3, 4,
we forgot
5,
to
6, 7, 8 entries.
Oh dear, we forgot to sort of promote it just before it ran out of time. Well, we talked about the obligatory one over from the spinner before lunch, but he's going to get one straight after lunch as well. At least it's Keshav Maharaj.
There's a bowler there from South Africa. started at bowling pace, but
Now, I don't think, as he bowls the first ball, which is defended by Sibley, that the man at short leg, Peter Milan, has much regard for his own safety, because he is basically taken up residence underneath Dominic Sibley's bat.
Well, at least he's got the helmet on, which, according to you, Hendo, you never used to
No,
bother with the
it's
helmet. I heard you talking about this yesterday or the day before. It's funny that you're actually risking your own life playing
Don't realise
cricket,
it.
playing there.
That's right.
Fielding so close without the benefit of even a box.
Yes, I was so macho in those days when I was about 14. In comes Maharaj again. This is pushed square on the offside. There is
But
no run.
You're absolutely right. Peter Milan is fielding in the shortest of short legs, to the point where he's kind of encroaching on the strip.
Yes.
He's almost, his left foot, he's at forward short leg, his left
Very
foot is
close.
almost on the cut strip. I was once warned in a club game.
He's in again, bowls. This one opens the face and gets very side on Sibley to push it into the extra cover region.
You may be familiar with this if you play club cricket. A lot of teams, particularly sort of third and fourth teams, will have a lot of kids, and they had a number 11 who was obviously a very well coached player, but he was about 11 and was batting with a really big bat, and he couldn't hit it off the square. He was batting to save the draw, so I was in very, very close.
Maharaj in again, bowls a semblance of turn as Sibley jabs that out again into the covers.
I was in very, very close, and I got warned because I was casting a shadow across the batting crease. So I had to back up until I was no longer casting a shadow across
Well,
the
do you
crease.
realise that the canny thing to do would be to get Dracula in there, because he casts no shadow. Late in the day, he's your man at short leg. Anyway, in comes Maharaj, bowls, drivable, and very spectacular dive from the bowler to divert it straight to extra cover. There is no run. The score remains 53-1.
It would be an intimidating presence at short leg, Dracula.
And imagine if he bit the
Yeah.
ball like
Shahid Afridi.
Shahid Afridi.
Absolutely. A big shout out to our listeners on Crick Tracker in India, especially Tayyab Qureshi and Gautam Devni, who asks who will win. Well, I'll put that question to the panel in a moment. Greg Smith says on Twitter, if there's one thing Faf regrets, well, that was a comment from someone before lunch. If there's one thing Faf regrets, then he's forgotten how to count. That's amusing. Arthur Patricia, here's a question for the erudite panel, obviously the one that comes on next. Question for you guys, who of Crawley, Sibley and Denley ends up with most test runs and who ends up with fewest? Who out of Crawley, Sibley and Denley ends up their careers with most test runs and who ends up with fewest?
That's a really good question as Denley goes onto the back foot to defend this delivery outside the off stump
to give
from
us more
Philander.
time to... Sorry, Hendo.
I was going to say, well, Denley, I mean, he's not going to have a long career. He is a stopgap, I think.
Most or fewest?
He'll have fewest. I think that Sibley and Crawley could both have long careers. Sibley does need a score. He may get it here today. From what I've seen in terms of ability, I'd have to say Crawley. And also he's got a bit more time on his side. He's 21, isn't he, compared with, well, Denley's 33 or 34 and Sibley's only 24. Anyway, hopefully there'll be I'm going to say they're going to be a great opening partnership for many years to come, but there's also Rory Burns to be taken into the equation. This is pushed up to mid-on, and there is no run.
Yeah, I think Burns and Sibley are the men in possession. I think Sibley will end up with most runs out of the three. I think I like what he brings to this England team. I like the solidity of Burns and Sibley, the sort of unhurried nature of the two of them. And again, just by sheer the fact that Denley probably doesn't have that long in him, Denley, for least. Speaking of Denley,
Joe Denley, he's almost as old as the theme song, but Chef is gone.
Philander into Denley, who remains untroubled by this one outside the off stump. He raises his bat and allows it to go through.
Bowler, he can do leg spin, but he's no Ravi Ashwin. He'll need help from the heavy roller. Joe Denley, Joe Denley.
you know, Denley might retire or his career might end with him having played maybe 20 odd test matches.
Yeah, something like that. I think that would be a fair point.
This is his 12th currently.
Yep. Anyway, he settles down and waits for Philander again. Very economical, though he hasn't taken a wicket so far. He's in again, and he clips that. Again, beautifully timed, beautifully played, all but for one thing, that it's gone straight to mid-wicket.
So your order, Header, was Crawley, Sibley, Denley, in that order?
No, I think ultimately Crawley will probably drop down to 3, won't he? If Sibley...
Oh no, in terms of most runs.
in terms of most runs. I would say Crawley, Sibley, and Denley. Yeah.
And mine was Sibley 1, Crawley 2, Denley 3.
So I think we're all agreed on Denley. Are you agreed on Denley in that respect? Philander bustling past the umpire, back of a length, defended. And Dean Elgar does a little bit of a dummy run from mid-wicket, but it ends up rolling to Rabada at mid-on.
I guess in terms of stage of their careers, you've got to hope that both Sibley and Crawley will have decent Test careers in front of them. So on that basis, on the age gap basis, then I'll go Crawley, Sibley, Denley.
So you're with me on that?
Yeah,
one?
I'm with you. I'm with you, Hendo.
But in terms of an order, if these guys do come good, I think you're probably looking at a Sibley and Burns opening partnership with Crawley dropping down to 3, which I think he's done for Kent, hasn't he? Pushed to mid-wicket, diving half stop by Elgar, who just diverts it, and then comes Rabada. And that is a maiden. 6 overs from Philander, conceded just the 7 runs. The England lead, having added just one run since lunch, is 99.
Controls
I mean, because agreement is boring, I might actually put Denley above Sibley. I'm not sure Sibley's done enough yet to cement a place, but he's got time on his side.
He's got to get a score in
Mog
fairly
says,
soon.
Mog actually says that Sibley's jingle, in answer to your question, Hendo, is based on an old Human League song.
Is it?
And you really need a database of these things, says Mog. And he also adds that, of course, if Dracula is only going to be playing night sessions.
Good point.
Never mind short leg, Dracula could be used as a bat as well. That's from Old Fart at Play. Thank you, Old Fart at Play.
Any more Dracula jokes would be gratefully received at Gorilla Cricket.
Hello to Vijay Ray, who says that South Africa is in the driving seat, listening to us on Cricket Tracker in India. Kayan Yadav and Afoki Met. Hello to you guys. Welcome to all our listeners across the Asian continent listening on Cricket Tracker.
First ball of the new over, Sibley goes back, flicks it away, well fielded by Milan in that very close short leg position, took it cleanly, driven this time. It'll give him, I think, a chance to get for 1. Yes, it will, as it's to the right of mid-on.
Do you agree with, Knuckle, do you agree with Vijay Raj that South Africa are in the driving seat?
No,
I don't. Not at the moment, and that's rare for me, being a sort of England pessimist. I think actually England are in a very good position. That position could change very rapidly, as we know with England.
Leading by 100 with 9 wickets in hand, as Peter Milan has now moved to
short mid-off,
position,
mid-off, I suppose.
Yeah, it's not quite silly mid-off, it's short mid-off.
Yeah, it's a bit deeper than that.
He's halfway down the strip, as it were.
Yeah, it's not quite the off-Hayden, as we often like to call it, either. This is defended by Denley, who's now faced 37 balls for his 9, so he's even slower than he was in the first innings. I don't mind that, though.
He's pretty unhurried in general, Joe Denley. I like that single, though, that push that Sibley essayed off Maharaj, because he got completely stuck against Maharaj at Centurion.
Oh, now Denley has come down the wicket, and he's lofted that despite the presence of a fairly wide-ish long off, straight for 4.
Don't mind that. Denley uses his feet pretty well to the spinners.
He does. I don't think he quite got there, but he went through with a shot and he kept it straight enough. Slightly risky.
Well, good hit.
It was a good hit. Very good hit. Very well controlled in the circumstances.
Turned a little.
Yep. He did very well there. Adapted as he came down the wicket. This one is flatter, not surprisingly, from Maharaj, who then picks up the ball when it comes back to him and has a little bit of a stare at Joe Denley.
But that's what Denley does. He seems to have a lot of time when he comes down the track. He has that ability to adjust to whatever the ball's doing, whether defensively or offensively.
He's one of England's better batsmen coming down the wicket to the spin, and that's absolutely true. He's onto the back foot to this one and just chops it out into the offside.
Who do you not like to see coming down the wicket then, Hendo?
Root. Root. Most England batsmen, to be honest. I think Stokes is generally pretty good at it. You've either got to commit. You either don't go or you completely commit, don't you? That's the thing.
Well, I mean, Stokes is good at coming down the track and pushing singles. I don't think he's a particularly... His boundary options tend to be the slog sweep or the really hard cut shot. But for Sibley, I was saying, he got... against Mitchell Santner a couple of times, he got stuck in New Zealand, just prodding at the left-arm spinner. On that occasion, he just managed to close the face a little bit and get that single into the leg side, get off strike.
He was out in the second innings in the first test in New Zealand. He was out to an awful shot to Santner, to be fair. It was so wide of the off stump, we really didn't need to be near it at all. Left alone by Sibley as Philander starts his 7th over. England have now moved on to 58 for 1.
Arthur Patricia says that club umpires, talking about this close fielder, club umpires can be pernickety about fielding infractions. A mate of mine was once rebuked for fielding from a folding lawn chair at long leg.
That's exactly what I would utilise these days if I had to field at long leg.
Who was it who took a bicycle from fine leg to fine leg?
Adam Lamb?
It'd be even more fun if it had been penny farthing. That would have been great. It's a lovely drive from Sibley, and in fact probably could have had a single. Rabada's well back at mid-on. Maybe just felt he hit it a little bit too hard.
It's his shot.
It is his shot, and he plays it exceptionally well.
He has very good control with the bottom hand to just for placement to miss the fielders in the leg side. A couple of times he's played that sort of shovel very fine even with the long leg in place, but he's just angled it to make sure he got it fine of the fielder.
Well, Sibley's now moved on to 20. He's 65 balls he's faced, and Philander is in and fishes at that a little bit outside the off stump, but controls it enough into the ground and towards gully. There is no run.
Big shout out to Kunwar Mahadev Singh Bharat. Hello, guys.
Hey there.
And hello to you and Afoki Mai as well.
We just saw a little glimpse of the England dressing room. Joss Butler looked absolutely knackered. he was ill. Oh, he has been ill, but I thought he'd recovered from that. He really didn't look his best. Well, we hope he won't be needed for some time.
Stokes at number 5 hasn't got his whites on yet.
I don't like that. I don't like to be hurried as a batsman if this is defended to extra cover. I mean, most of the time I used to open, so that was really annoying after tea. You couldn't have a decent tea. But the other thing is, if I wasn't opening, I always had to be ready a long time in advance. It seems to take forever to get my pads on.
Yeah, I don't like being rushed starting this show. I like to be here in good time and
No, me too.
get everything set up. But exactly the same. I generally, unless I was batting really low down the order, I wouldn't change out on my whites, or I'd just keep in the whites.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then would put the thigh pad and box on 2 wickets before I would go down. Then put the pads on.
I see a lot of professional cricketers, certainly in Test cricket. This is left alone outside the stump, too short perhaps. I see a lot of Test cricketers wandering around, sort of very ill prepared to go out to bat, and often, I mean, that's right. In club cricket, certainly, you used to think if you're batting at 4, when the openers go in, you need to be padded up. But you often see the 4 not padded up.
Well, maybe not padded up, but certainly you'd have your thigh pad and box on.
Well, yeah, I suppose that's true. I mean,
Depends how much you trust your openers.
Yes, good fair point.
I'd certainly be putting the contact lenses in.
Oh, contact lenses, yeah, they can be fiddly, can't they?
Very fiddly. You wouldn't want to be doing those as you come down the steps.
Not really. And then you fall because you can't see, I suppose. 2 slips in the gully, in comes Philander. Bowls to Sibley, who essays an exaggerated leave as perhaps the ball just fizzes a little bit off the surface.
One of the pearls of wisdom, Hendo, in Robin Smith's book, The Judge, is that his continual nightmare is that he's coming down the steps unprepared, that the wicket's fallen and he's not ready to come into bat.
I think that's a common dream for people who play cricket, whether professionally or recreationally. I still have those dreams where I am trying to get the last buckle of the pad connected, and it just won't happen. It just won't do it. And it's those anxiety dreams, isn't it?
Have you ever been timed out in a dream?
No, but you feel like it's going to happen because you just can't get the buckle fastened. And it's not buckle so much these days, is it? He's got Velcro. Driven in the air over the top of extra cover. What a good shot that is from Joe Denley. Although that said, it's plugged a little bit. It might not even make it to the boundary. Chased down in the end by Hamza, and they're coming back for a third. I think Sibley was a little bit worried by that when he turned around and saw Denley running to the non-striker's end, but it was Denley who was going to be in any danger if there was going to be any danger.
Yeah, that's nice from Denley. He just opened the face to slice it up over cover. It's a perfectly safe shot. It landed about halfway back to the boundary.
Well, if you don't quite get it right, I mean, they've got the cover point set back a little bit, so if he did just slice that a little bit more, he might be in trouble. But, yeah, he played the line very well indeed. And this is good from Denley. He goes to 16 from 41 deliveries. And it's Sibley to face. Maharaj is in. Oh, now he does get a bit of turn there. As he props forward, it runs off a thick outside edge to backward point. Rabada fields, no run. So 8 runs now from Maharaj's bowling. He's into his 4th over.
The spinners have been operating from this end through most of the test. It was from this end that Dom Best did such a good holding job yesterday.
Now Milan goes across to silly mid-off, or even silly point, a little bit squarer than that silly mid-off might be. This is defended back to Maharaj. There is no run.
So the fast bowlers will be trying to hit that crack from the Weinberg end.
Indeed. So Sibley waits again. Maharaj quite flat, forcing Sibley back onto his stumps, and then he pushes to mid-on.
He really wanted to work that into the leg side, but it just turned on him.
Yeah, and we saw him get caught and bowled in the second innings at Centurion by one that just stuck in the pitch, maybe turned a little bit when he was going so well. He's in again. Now actually he's played that quite well, because it has turned appreciably, and he followed it, but he didn't follow it and get an edge. He followed it and pushed it down into the ground towards slip.
That's playing late for you.
And he's played that quite nicely.
And Milan's again jumped to the other side of the wicket. He's
all over the place.
Yeah. It won over from Rabada a couple of times. He was a short leg to Zach Crawley, and then backward point to Dom Sibley.
Oh, now he's edged that one. He went back to a full one. It did turn. He played the stroke, but it's gone off the outside edge, wide of slip, and it's brought Sibley 4 runs.
Would have been a nearly impossible catch for Fuff.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, why? I was asked this question recently by my good lady, actually, that why don't they? Why do spinners never have a second slip? It's a very good question.
They do sometimes.
Very rarely, very rarely.
If the pitch is really turning, they'll have a gully. But you have to take them
second slip.
You have to take them from somewhere, or sometimes slip will stand wider, but it's personal preference.
That would have been straight down his throat.
Also, Faf du Plessis' right hand is dominant, so he will stand a little bit finer so that it's going to his right hand. It's really difficult as a first slip to spinners to go inside.
Knackle Gits and Gratz wants to know, I know it's Sunday, but is there any reason why Knackle is dressed as Father Ted today? No, that's not a dog collar. That is not a dog collar.
No, it's not. I'm wearing a white T-shirt under my...
Spicy Golden Duck says, R.E. Dracula biting the ball. Oh, I'll come back to that.
We did that, didn't we? Did we talk about that? Oh, no, right, he's got another point to make about it. One slip in the gully. Oh, and Denley has a little prod at that one. De Kock has come up to stand up to the wicket, and he does take it well. But it wasn't a good shot. Just unnerved Denley, perhaps, because he'd been forced to move back.
I wouldn't like that.
Crease.
As a batsman, with Philander bowling with the wicketkeeper up, I would not like that at all.
He did it to Pretorius, particularly. It's not so much of an issue for Sibley, but Denley has been batting 1.5 foot outside of his crease to Philander and
I don't think he's been going that far. I think he's been going maybe about 10 inches, 8 to 10 inches. But... It does restrict you as a batsman when you've been batting out of your crease. 2 slips now, as this is clipped again. Very nice timing from Denley, but straight to mid-wicket. And there is no run. England have moved now to 65 for 1. The lead is 111. It's Nelson.
Sorry, Hendo.
That's right. Carry
Regarding
on.
Dracula biting the ball, this is from Spicy Golden Duck.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that turn the ball into a vampire?
Oh,
I like the idea of a ball that can turn into a bat.
Well, that would be a ball that really had teeth then, wouldn't it? Have we exhausted all the Dracula jokes? Yeah, so there must be more Dracula jokes that we can squeeze from that. 2 slips in the gully. De Kock up to the stumps, defended again to mid-wicket. Elgar Fields.
Written, of course, by Bram Stokes.
Hey, very good, very good. Well, I mean, we are talking about Dracula, I suppose, because it's in the public eye at the moment, isn't it? The new Dracula that's been on the BBC, which everyone thinks is brilliant.
I've not seen it.
I haven't seen it.
I look forward to it. The first sort of couple of chapters of the novel is one of the most brilliant bits of sort of atmospheric writing you could hope to see.
The TV treatment has been written by the same team that brought you Doctor Who.
All right. Also, I think...
And Sherlock.
Sherlock, okay. Philander
Moffat.
turns. Yes, Moffat. Stephen Moffat is in. Bowls left, wide of the off stump by Denley.
I mean, this is a good strategy from de Kock to come up to the stumps, because we all know that Joe Denley likes to take a walk down the wicket.
Well, he doesn't walk outside down the wicket, and we saw that in the first test. Actually, there was that.
Well, takes guard out.
He takes guard, whereas Joe Root got out walking at Vernon Philander in the first innings in Centurion, but Denley, by setting up outside of his crease, was able to take the swing out of the equation to some extent and be stable. But it's this move from de Kock and his ability as a wicketkeeper has forced Denley into doing something different.
Yeah, I mean, he's done it. He did it in the first innings. It's a good ploy. This one keeps a little bit low, and Denley jabs down on it and forces it into the covers. And I think it's a difficult thing for a batsman if you like pace on the ball, and a lot of most top order batsmen do. And so if there isn't a huge amount of it, the pitch is a bit slow. The bowler's 78 as opposed to 85, 86. You want to be, reaching that ball a little bit earlier, and so you take guard a little bit further outside your crease, hoping the ball gets to you a little bit quicker, so you don't overbalance looking for it. Don't go looking for it, really, is I suppose
and so it doesn't
the
swing
main
as much.
thing. Also talking about cutting down the swing to a certain extent, yes. This one comes back into Denley, stands up tall this time, defends it off the back foot, full face of the bat. And that is the end of, another maiden over from Vernon Philander. 8 overs now, none for 7. If he's not taking in wickets, he ties up an end, he really does. 65 for 1.
Yeah, we were discussing the similarities between Philander and Middlesex and Ireland's Murtagh.
Well, I suppose yes.
I was saying that Philander's in different, it's like it's comparing a Premiership club to a Championship version who play the same style
I
of
don't
football.
know. Tim Murtagh, had things been different, would have had a very good international career, I think.
No, I have to say that I think Philander's in a slightly higher class. In he comes, bowls. This is Maharaj, tickled away by Sibley, down towards long leg. Is there anyone there? There isn't. It's going to be one of the slowest boundaries we've seen in a long time.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, Vernon Philander is one of the all-time greats and has a record to prove it. But, Tim Murtagh was an excellent bowler. And Mohammed Abbas is the other one who'll be left in international cricket of a similar ilk, I guess, in terms of style to Philander.
I think that what you've had with Tim Murtagh is an intelligent bowler who's learnt his trade and become very, very good. He didn't get much of a chance at Surrey. Or he did for a little while, but he was never a frontline bowler there, I don't think. And it's really taken him to go to Middlesex and then get that sort of new lease of life with Ireland to bring out the best in him, I think. In comes Maharaj, bowls, pushed up towards long off. Maharaj dives across, can only half stop it, and the ball ends up rolling to the man coming in off the fence. They take another single.
All he managed to do was palm it past Rossi van der Dussen, who was coming around from cover. But Vernon Philander came into international cricket basically fully formed from first class cricket.
Yes, I think that's the difference, isn't it? And has had a really low average from the very start, really.
Yeah, Abbas, similar, actually. Abbas, 3-4 years of ridiculous first class numbers.
I think we saw, when we were looking at his record when we went to Ireland, I think we saw that he'd got an average of about 16 in first class cricket at that point as a bowler, which is fabulous. And he's gone on being really good, although I was amazed he was left out, wasn't he, in Australia for one test. Yeah.
Interesting offside field. The fielders up in the ring, as it were, on the offside are in a vertical line, point cover and sort of extra cover.
Is there there's not.
There's a long off.
There's not a man set for a little bit further back that they did have before, I don't think. Nicely threaded to the extra cover by Denley, who spotted he was a bit deeper set and came through for the single. He goes to 17. Partnership now worth 43 from 94 balls.
That was good from Sibley. He was very alert to the possibility of a single.
Well, I think this is what England have to be alert to. They have to be able to rotate the strike better than they have done.
Well, Britain needs alerts.
They do. You need alert, yes. Because that was in one of the old graffiti books, wasn't it? Britain needs alerts.
Old fart at play, Hendo, still on the Dracula
could
vibe.
Be me.
So surely Dracula would just suck the life from the pitch.
Oh yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? Yeah, that's a fair point. There wouldn't be much moisture.
Do tell us your cricketing anxiety dreams. We've had an interesting one from Chris Paul. I'll tell you about that in a moment.
Oh, I like that one. Maharaj, left arm round, the wicket bowls to Sibley, who plants his foot down the middle of the pitch and presents the full face to back.
Short field to watch. Peter Milan is now at forward short leg.
It's almost like every other ball he nips across from one side to
Reminds
the
me of
other.
commentating on Nasser Hussain at the T20 charity relief game.
Commentating on Nasser Hussain, commentating from the middle. Yes, indeed. Maharaj in again. Oh, he finds a little bit of turn there as Sibley is pushing for it, reaching for it. Meets it well enough, but there is a bit of turn developing there now for Maharaj.
Don
which
Bess, are you watching?
is not necessarily bad news for England.
We should have a change at the end of the over, and tiny hooves do indeed thunder.
Who's coming in? Katie is coming in as Sibley goes back looking to try and push this and take a single, but he hits it to Hamza and there is no run. That is the end of the over. Looks like we're going to have a change. Who's coming in to do ball by ball? Tony.
It'll be Tony Bishop, Dr. Katie Scott and Mashal St Patrick Hewitt, but before that, Rihanna.
Yep. You owe us all right. You think this alternative cricket commentary stuff comes cheap? Well, we need some dollar bills to help pay our bills. So please, go to patreon.com/GorillaCricket and sign up to make a regular monthly donation. You know there is literally nothing like Gorilla Cricket's coverage, so don't be tight. Dip into your virtual pocket and throw some cash our way. See, Rihanna knows. Patreon.com/GorillaCricket.
So 71 for 1. The lead has extended to 117. Just the loss so far of Zach Crawley, who fell caught behind off the bowling of Kagisa Rabada. Philander it is who's taking up the attack at the moment. Right arm over, and that rather squares Denley up, and that sort of squirts off the outside edge and away into the covers. But Denley's still there on 17. Sibley, well, he's positively put his foot down on the accelerator button by his standards. 29 off 79. I am joined, I'm Tony Bishop 1, I'm joined by Dr. Katie Scott to my left.
Hello.
Who is responsible for all social engagement across multiple platforms.
Yeah, sorry about that in advance.
Oh, well, not at all. And to my right, the Baron of Bromley himself, Mashal St Patrick Hewitt.
Cheers, Tom.
As forward comes Denley. Philander, who's quite a sprightly, for a bigger lad, he's quite sprightly, isn't he? Was very quick to get down off his own bowling and a big left paw and field that. So he's none for 7 with 2 balls into the 9th over. And that so far, Mash, the dreaded crack that was opening up at was it not the Weinberg end, it was if you're bowling from the Weinberg end, I think towards the Kelvin Grove end, hasn't yet seemed to have caused too much consternation, has it? 2 slips are in place, and interestingly enough, as that was flicked away to Dean Elgar, who's at mid-wicket by Denley. Quintin de Kock is standing up to Philander, which says everything about Philander's pace. We were likening him earlier to Tim Murtagh.
Yes.
And I still think it's a pretty good analogy, I've got to be honest. 2 slips as well. 2 slips point, cover, mid-off, mid-on. There's a man actually down at long leg for Denley, just in case he's tempted into that pull shot. I think it's Kisha Maharaj. In comes Philander, and again his arms go up. He's, an intake of breath, and again a little bit edgy. Hendo is waving farewell as he goes off to either sit on cats or make sure that articles in the Times are appropriately managed to communicate well and in proper English.
Yeah, if you spot any typos, it's all his fault.
Well, he's quite ruthless on my stuff. I'll tell you actually at the end of this ball, when I've quite often written introductions for things or small pieces, the worst note you can ever get from Hendo is, I like this, I've just done a different version. As in comes Philander, and Denley again. He's making Denley think, isn't he? He's just relentless, Philander. Relentless. He's attacking that 3rd, 4th stump line on a length, and he's giving the batsman no space to free their arms and play shots, none for 7 off 8 overs. He's going at less than a run and over. Is remarkable. He is just terrific. Yeah, no, but those dreaded words from Hendo, yes. It's good, but I've just done a slightly different version, which essentially means it's totally different to what I would have done and thought, actually, I'm really happy with that. I think that's a great piece I've just written there. Not when the Hendo red pen gets to it. 117, the lead. 71 for 1 England. Philander in again, past umpire Damasceno. That one, Denley does free the arms to, but it goes straight to, I believe that's Milan. Diving away to his right at extra cover. So there will be no run. It will conclude another frugal maiden from the estimable Vernon Philander.
We've got a few people with us on Crick Tracker on Facebook. David Richards says he's watching from Bingley in West Yorks. He said my uncle
Bingley, as in Bradford and Bingley.
Apparently so.
Bingley.
My uncle took me to see South Africa in 1952 against Glamorgan in Wales. The match was a tie.
Oh, wow.
I'm afraid that was before my time, but that does sound exciting. Abdul Malik says, I like South Africa. Timotheus Karegede is telling us about someone who was born on Christmas Day and came to save us and isn't Alistair Cook or Marcus Trescothick.
Is it a cricketer?
No, it's Christ.
Oh.
So thank you for that, Timotheus, but we'll probably stick more with the kind of the Cook end of the Christmas Day births at the moment.
Probably should for now.
And Carol wants a shout out, so hello Carol.
Hello Carol. I am but a fool.
Hello Carol, hello Jesus.
71 for 1, the score, and we are going to see Keisha Maharaj, who is 5th of 5 overs bowled. Is this a bowling change?
No, he was already.
Oh, he was already on.
He was already on, yeah. So, if you can have such a thing as a holding pattern in a test, this is what South Africa are kind of waiting for these batsmen. I don't know if it's harsh to say make a mistake, but they're not giving them a chance to score.
Well,
freely.
possibly. These two are batting smartly, sensibly. They're looking for the bad ball. I mean, that can often be quite a long wait if you're facing Vernon Philander. Maharaj skips in, left arm over, moves the ball quite appreciably back into the right-handed Sibley, who can shoulder arms because it pitched well outside the line of leg stump. And I guess that will be his problem, bowling to right-handers rather than left-handers, won't it? In that, if he's looking for movement off those footmarks, then it will typically be pitching outside a leg. Sibley drops the bat on this straight to the man under the lid at forward short. Just 53 miles an hour. Faf du Plessis at slip is going through a number of manoeuvres. Maharaj is in again. And again it pitches outside leg, and again Sibley uses his pad as a very legitimate form of, but not exciting form of defence. But effective enough. He would have to be careful not to do that if Maharaj manages to pitch one onto leg stump.
I like the symmetry. The score is 71 for 1 and the lead is 117.
7-1-1-1-1-7. Well spotted. That's
nice,
fair. Oh, I do like that. There's a name for that, not just symmetry. In numbers, there's a name for that kind of 3 and 3 mirror image. Like, yeah, but I can't remember what it is. A mathematician would have to tell me.
Denley's on 17 as well, so.
Denley on 17.
All the 7s.
Yeah, it's a sort of a 7 version of binary. As in comes Maharaj. Oh, and that one jumped, and Sibley, well, it came off the pad and went straight to Milan, who is the man there at forward short leg. There, the ooh from me was that I just wondered if there was a hint of bat onto pad. There wasn't. Paul Rifle looking enigmatic under his sun hat and with his sunglasses on. Once again, Sibley forward, pushed away to that onside. No run. Maharaj gets through his overs at a pretty decent lick. In fact, it beat the bat. And again pitched possibly just enough outside of leg stump, even though it was moving in. And that will be Maharaj's problem in the wicket-taking stakes. But if he's pitching it outside of leg, even if he's going to be thumping the batsman in front, it still won't net him a wicket. He's coming around the wicket, though, to Sibley, who has a little prod at that, without too much footwork, all the way along the ground to backward point, and concludes the 6th over of Keisha Maharaj. None for 18 for him. 71. I'll read this as 7-1 for 1. Lead of 1-1-7, just to keep Dr. Katie happy for the length of time that those scores stay the same, and probably it could be a while yet, given the speed at which England is scoring. How are we doing in terms of communications?
A little bit behind on tweets, so I'll try and catch up a bit. Arthur Patricia says, club umpires can be pernickety about fielding infractions. A mate of mine was once rebuked for fielding from a folding lawn chair at long leg.
Folding.
I mean, it's better than fielding from a folding lawn chair at slip, but... Spicy Golden Duck says, read Dracula biting the ball. Wouldn't that turn the ball into a vampire? I like the idea of a ball that can turn into a bat.
Oh, nice idea. Were we discussing the TV series? I watched the last one of those last night. Absolutely fabulous. Rabada it is who's taking up the attack, replacing Vernon Philander.
Yes, and let me just tune him in.
Left alone by Denley.
He's a high roller, rock and roller, scariest, deadliest, killing this bowler. He can sink your oats like the Spanish Armada. No one faster, no one harder. What's his name? What's his name? Tell me, what's his name?
Well, in he comes from the Weinberg end, and on the drive, beautifully by Denley. Two fielders are converging. I don't think either are going to get there. I'll take that back. They do. Very lively dive to rescue.
Grits and Grats says, I know it's Sunday, but is there any reason why Knuckle is dressed as Father Ted today?
Father Ted, as long as it's not. Who's the one who sits in the chair and swears a lot?
That's Hendo.
No, I know. Or the bear. No. I meant in Father Ted, who's the one who sits in the...
Father Jack Hackett.
Oh, it's Father Jack, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'd like to see Knuckle dressed as Father Jack. That would be very interesting.
That would be
good. Terrific piece of fielding, though. Who was that, Nash? But they did a superb job. Rabada in, full and looking for that Yorker. And Denley digs it out and pushes it away to mid-on. 86 miles an hour, so not the quickest he's bowled, Rabada. And even the drive from Denley was uppish, wasn't it? But he was safe between point and cover. And it was Keisha Maharaj who is a lively fella. Quite often you find with spinners, and this is by no means an exclusive rule, but they tend to not always be the best fielder in the team. But in Maharaj's case, it was very lively indeed. And he's called into action again down there on that deep point boundary. And it will mean a single for Denley. He'll move on to 20. Sibley on 29. And these two, Mash, building quite nicely, I would suggest.
They're doing what they need to do. As I think, as you alluded to a couple of overs ago, when they see a bad ball or a hittable ball, they're collecting their runs. It doesn't need to be pretty. It's only day 3.
So we're are we in the boring middle day? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Anyway, Rabada is going to be in again, past umpire Paul Rifle. Was it Rifle? No, it's Damasceno from this end, isn't it? And Sibley with a high hold of the bat well above his head, watches it through to Quintin de Kock. We're watching a replay of his sort of trigger movements, Sibley, and it's very strange. He holds the bat well away from the body, stands rather square before straightening up. There's hints of Rory Burns in it. That one he doesn't need to play because strayed in width a little did Rabada, and it was well wide of off stump and through to de Kock. Concludes another over.
Chris Paul, Save Withybush Hospital, says, since getting hit for 30 in 1 over off a Pembrokeshire League 1 opener last season, I get a recurring cricket anxiety dream where I just can't find my line and get hit for 36 off and over. Yeah.
If you had to name the most famous bowler to be hit for 36, who would you name?
Broad.
You'd say Broad. Interesting.
Broad.
That's a generational thing, because I would have said Malcolm Nash.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, no, Malcolm Nash, because Gary Sobers did that at Sophia Gardens, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nash would be. I realise it. You probably weren't even in the world then. Yes, you were. How old are you? Would you have been around for that? Had you been born? Would have been mid-60s? No, you wouldn't have been. Not at all.
Thanks for thinking I might have been.
No. But you are a doyen and deeply knowledgeable about West Indian cricket, and therefore I knew you would have known of it. That was
I know of the stats and facts, but
sadly left us recently. Did Malcolm Nash. Anyway, 74 for 1. Maharaj is going to continue from that Kelvin Grove end.
Old Fart at Play says, surely Dracula would just suck the life from the pitch. Very good.
Full, and it's Denley's turn to use that front pad as the first line of defence, thrusting it forward, and Maharaj will field off his own bowling. The lead has got to 120, remember. So it's going as to plan for England at the moment. Again, pitches outside of leg, again moves in, but again doesn't need a bat laid upon it by Denley. And it seems to me, Katie, that both of these batsmen have decided that padding up to Maharaj is a legitimate tactic.
And when he's bowling so far
he's
outside.
in again. Ooh, but that one, Denley was looking to whip away round the corner, and was just a little bit too quick for him, actually, just a shade south of 55 miles an hour.
Yeah, when he's bowling so far outside of leg stump, then they're absolutely fine doing that. But I just don't want them to get into the habit of that, and he changes his line.
Well, absolutely right. I mean, it can become a dangerous habit, and there, as if to prove a point, the ball pitched much closer to leg. Denley padded up. Both de Kock and Faf, Duplessis at first slip, threw up their arms, and they realised that that was a dangerous tactic. In comes Maharaj again. This time Denley learns the lesson of the last ball and plays a far more legitimate defensive prod with his bat. 74 for 1.
Grubby's with us and says, my boy Bertie has been commentating. Shall I bring him in for a trial?
Definitely should. This one again. There's back to using the pad. What's his style, Grubbs? Let us know. Does he sort of err towards Neville Cardus, John Arlott, or is he a bit more excitable in the nature of Danny Morrison, or somewhere in between? Let us know. That concludes the seventh over from Maharaj. None for 18 for him. England have, since lunch, been steady rather than spectacular.
Linux Leah says, Hendo is sitting on cats. What a cruel thing to do. The Roy treatment for him too, then. I think he's sitting 4 cats so that they have a lap to sit on when there is not another one.
They do.
It's an important job.
I think in his more full description of his job, he would say, he'd describe what he does. This is left alone outside of off stump from the first ball of Rabada's 9th over.
Do cats need to be sat for?
They most certainly do. Who feeds them?
I thought cats weren't loyal and that they just disappear anyway.
No, they need someone to sit there. They don't really care who it is.
Well, you don't stay. Normally, cat sitting means you pop in, feed them, go out again. It doesn't mean you actually sit with them all day. It's not like, like children. Well, I mean, maybe some cats are very needy, and they actually need someone to sort of sit there with them and look after them. Rabada in, right arm over, and forward comes Sibley, pushes it to mid-on, and there's no run.
My cat, when I went to university, my parents had to put a hot water bottle in my bed because she was so used to sleeping next to me, and then she didn't have anyone to sleep on when I wasn't there, so she had to have a hot water bottle.
Oh, poor old cat.
Yeah.
That lead has been 120 for a while. 74 for 1.
Arthur Patricia says, pretty sure Gilchrist used to stand up to Glenn McGrath, the poor man's Tim Murtagh towards the end. Keepers standing up to quality medium paces is a sign of respect.
Well, you say that. Yes, his pace will have dropped towards the end, but I'll just hold the thought for a second as Rabada's right arm over and in, and Sibley withdraws the bat. Yes, but Glenn McGrath, you'd place in that same camp. The word that's always, the adjective for him was always metronomic, wasn't it? If I had to say to you, name me a metronomic quick bowler, probably because you've heard it so often, McGrath would be the name that would come to mind, wouldn't it?
We've got a call from Annie Chafe for our listeners. I'm collecting people's votes for their County Cricketer of the Decade for my magazine County Cricket Matters. Please could you ask your listenership for their vote and ask them to link me in?
Okay, Tim Murtagh, there you go. As this is pushed forward by Sibley, and Rabada stuck out a big right boot and wasn't able to quite get it there. But there's no run still, so it's still 74 for 1, and the lead is still 120. Tim Murtagh's not a bad shout. There's a couple of the Essex team who have, Tender Scarter, I think, might be a decent shout.
If you're going for cricketers who play county cricket and have never played international, then Hildreth, because he's been fantastic for years.
And that one is full and defended by Sibley. He does take his top hand off the bat as he plays that. Yeah, he's looking. We keep seeing replays, and I think we keep seeing replays because it's an examination of his rather sort of square on technique. Sibley, it's certainly not out of any coaching manual that you or I might have ever read. Mash, have you ever read a coaching manual, by the way? Or are you more instinctive?
I used to read coach manuals until I realised that Shiv Chanderpaul didn't.
Okay, fair enough. As Rabada is in, and Sibley tucks in behind that. That one is solid and correct. There's no run. It's another maiden over. England have settled into, I'm not quite sure we'd call it a rut, but it's something of that ilk, isn't it, at the moment? But crucially, they are not losing wickets.
Yeah, slow and steady, I think. We've got a correction from A.D. Bryan and from David Richards. Sober's 36 in an over was at Swansea, not Sophia Gardens. Sorry for being a pedant.
Well, don't. I'm
Be
delighted.
a pedant as much as you like. We love it.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. For some reason, I was convinced it was Sophia Gardens, but I will
It's all Wales,
stand
isn't it?
fully. Well,
I just knew it was in Wales.
fully corrected. Maharaj again. Oh, and guess what? You could almost commentate it instead of me. The ball pitches outside of leg. The big pad gets thrust forward by Denley, and it is pushed away into the leg side without the aid of any bat at all.
Matt Searle has, after this ball,
As Maharaj in, that's a better ball really, because that one was pitched on leg and middle, and it forces Denley to actually play at it, which he duly does.
actually I've realised it's Maharaj bowling, so maybe at the end of the over rather.
Yeah, you don't have it
Just
if it's a
gets
long,
through it.
if a long tweets and Maharaj
Yeah.
don't are not a good marriage. Denley stands tall. That one again outside of leg, and again good use of the pad, 80 kilometres an hour, so that would be what, about 50 odd. Oh, bang on, 50 miles an hour. I suppose that is an easy piece of maths, really. That one. And yeah, we're having a look again. He's getting enough movement, but he needs to be pitching it on the stumps. That one, Denley again was looking to whip away around the corner, and in expectation of that very shot, there is a man at short fine leg who would have the merest hint of a top edge that would have just dropped straight into his hands.
Something's got to give soon, whether it be a boundary or a wicket.
I think you're right, Mash. It's an intriguing contest. In comes Maharaj. Forward comes Denley. It's pushed rather edgily to Rabada, who's at backward point. And there is no run. I'll stop saying there's no run. Just assume it's no run, unless I tell you differently, because it's been no run for just about every ball for the last 4 overs. Maharaj in again. Forward comes Denley.
Can I say it
Maharaj
this time?
fields.
And there is no run.
You can say it. You can say it.
So Matt,
End of that over.
Matt Searle's tweet is kind of quite relevant following that over, really. Listening to the England batsman padding up, is there any case for refining the LBW law? If the ball would hit the stumps, you're out regardless of where the ball pitched. It would take a while for batsmen to adjust to the new law, but could it be an idea?
It's not. It's a good idea, not necessarily a new idea. And I think isn't the logic behind it large? I'm sure Mash will correct me if it isn't. But isn't it largely that an umpire has to make a judgment on the amount that a ball would have moved, which is a tough decision to be asked to make. So consequently, if your pitch is outside of leg, he's not able to make that judgment. That's basically thinking, well, we do have runs, as this is carved away between cover and extra cover off Rabada, and the scoreboard has moved on. And Sibley, very nicely, just it was a bit floaty, wasn't it? A bit over pitched by Rabada, half volley, and Sibley just down on one knee and steered it. There was no power, no forcing of the bat. He just watched the ball onto the bat and guided it through extra cover for 4. So the 50-run partnership is up, and this one is left alone, reverting back to type again, watching it through to Quentin de Kock. But it's been a careful, deliberate, watchful, not necessarily exciting, but hugely valuable 50-run partnership by these two.
I mean, this is what Denley's in there for, really, is having his experience and his kind of... He's able to actually have the patience to do this kind of, play this kind of innings.
Yeah,
it's nice to see that Sibley is too, because I think I was less sure about.
You're quite right. As in comes Rabada. This is push to Keisha Maharaj at mid-on.
See, Sibley's backlift, is it unusually high, or am I seeing things? Or weird?
I don't think it's high, but what he does do is he holds it away from the body, gives it sort of a 45-degree angle, backlift, and then kind of, as part of his movement, just to line up with the ball, he brings the bat in closer to his body
I've
again.
seen something like that.
It is unusual. Well, that's why we were discussing it. I mean, it is most definitely unusual. In comes Rabada again, full straight on off stump, and they will get a single this time. It went straight to cover, but through cover, he could only just basically take the pace off the ball. And not only we're in a land of untold riches now, because not only have we had a beautiful cover drive, we've had a quickly run single. Rabada in again. Or am I watching a replay? No, I'm watching a genuine shot. Oh no, it was a replay. Yeah, I was going to say 2 quickly run singles would be almost unprecedented in the context of this partnership.
An embarrassment of riches. I don't think we could deal with that.
An embarrassment of quickly run singles. What we were looking at was whether the throw that came in would have been out if it hit. It wouldn't. He was safely home. Denley, high elbow, solid and correct, forward defensive, no run.
Gitson Gratz says the best place for Dracula in the England team is opening bat. God knows we need a revamp.
Oh,
Gross.
dear, oh, dear, dear, oh, dear. Well, the joke, that best vampire joke is normally playing in goal, isn't it, for whichever team you want to insert on the ground, and who's struggling and not doing very well on the grounds that he's scared of crosses. So in comes Rabada again. And nicely forward comes Denley. Pushed away to extra cover, no run. End of Rabada's over. 1 for 33 for him. 79 for 1 England. 1-2-5 the lead.
David Richards asks, who was the South Africa captain in 1951 and 52 against Glamorgan? Was it Woolmer? I don't know, but someone listening out there might do.
Was it who?
Woolmer.
In 51?
That's what he's saying.
Wouldn't have been Bob Wilmer in 51. He played in the 70s and 80s.
It's all before my time.
Well,
I basically assumed that, they all played. Basically, anyone born before about 1970 played together.
Knuckle, if you're in the green room, which I know you are, resplendent in your what do you call a handkerchief in a top pocket?
A handkerchief in a top pocket.
Handkerchief in a top pocket. Fine, thank you so much. Who was who South Africa tour in what year?
51-52.
51-52. Who was captaining South Africa?
It's not going to have been over that winter because it's Wales.
What you might want to do is you would, I would imagine, be able to find, as we wait for Maharaj to come around the wicket, to the right-handed Sibley, who guides this away through point and will get a single. Yeah, you may not be able to find immediately who was in that game, but you can look at test matches around that time. Oh, well, that actually went through the legs. He nutmegged the man at Silly Point. Well, does that mean you've half written the answer? Oh, okay, as in comes Maharaj, worked away to mid-wicket by Denley to Rassie van der Dusen.
And we've had a present from Brian 001. Sent us wine and beer. Thank you very much.
Well, that's phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Our new favourite listener.
Well, as forward comes Denley, strokes this to long off, and will get another single. The question, Knuckle, was 1951 South African touring team. Who was the captain?
It might have been 52.
He's taken that almost like a secret agent receiving a briefing, a nod back to the commentary team, and he was off like a shot to execute the brief. 81 for 1. Maharaj in. That one pitches outside of off. So I think Maharaj has basically had enough of pitching the ball outside leg and getting precisely nowhere. He's now decided to attack off stump. And we may be due a change soon. There is the looming, menacing presence of the very tall Steve Jones, who's not menacing in any way, although he does tend to loom by dint of just considerable height. 81 for 1. In comes Maharaj. Nicely forward comes Sibley. Maharaj skips across and fields off his own bowling. 81 for 1 still. He's very consistent on that 50-mile-an-hour pace, isn't he?
Yeah, this has been a very consistent period of Test match cricket.
Oh, it has. They've given England very little. It is interesting, I think, that he's changed his line of attack. He must have a thought in mind here. He's in again, particularly with that deployment of the silly point. But that's pushed away to mid-on. There is no run. 81 for 1. We have a drinks break. So time to read tweets, time to change commentary session. I will be back with you later on today.
I'll just catch up on one or two tweets. Arthur Patricia says, if Sibley becomes 2/3 of the square-on batter Peter Willie was, or half a Chanda Paul in metric, he'll have a more than useful Test career. And Sean T is listening to us from Pampaniera in the mountains and sends us a lovely picture. It looks very sunny, beautiful blue skies there. Glad to have you with us. We've also got a tweet from Peter Matzer, who in reply to Annie Chave about the best county cricketer of the last decade, Tim Murtagh, end. I think there's something to be said for that. And I will hand over to your new commentary team.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Kate. And it's David Brooker too, with Steve on my right, and shortly to take the place of Katie in the tweet chair will be Mashal, who's moved a couple of places over.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Steve. And
so the South Africans look like they tried to slow us down a little bit negative bowling, just padding away, just trying to get some control.
Well, yeah, but it's
squeezing us a bit.
I guess from England's point of view, they won't mind that. In terms of its partnership is still intact, and the runs are coming, and the lead is building. Yeah. And one of our listeners from Quick Tracker was saying South Africa are in the driving seat, putting on the brakes, but I'm not sure about that. I think England now getting into the driving seat. Mashal, how do you read the situation?
This is it's an attritional state of affairs right now. I think Steve's right on this. I think South Africa are just trying to grind the situation down at the moment. Are they trying to take a wicket? I think they're trying to induce a mistake. Whether you can call that wicket taking or not is another thing altogether.
Well, it hasn't worked.
No, it hasn't worked.
It was a little bit like the short ball policy in the first innings, which eventually got root. It was a mistake by him to get the wicket rather than really working him out.
Well, it hasn't worked because England are 81 for 1, and the lead.
So far.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All one can talk about.
Calm
so
before
far.
the storm, as I think Hendo was referring to it earlier on.
All one can talk about is it hasn't worked so far.
No.
The lead is 127 as Rabada comes in. Oh, this is a recording? It is.
Highlights. I'll do some tweets in the meantime.
We're still on. I was about to say Rabada comes in and takes a drink because they're still on drinks break. Rabada taking a slurp of his Lucasade or some other energy drink.
Tweet Seagrave Saab says that refinement to the LBW rule would be an awful thing. Teams will just bowl their leg spinners from way out wide, and the test wouldn't last a day.
Let me know. Keep going.
Sorry.
I'll let you know when we're back live.
Andrew Ward says Hanky in top pocket is known, appropriately enough, as a pocket square.
That's been worn by Knackle today.
Colin Horner says the South African captain in 51 was Dudley Nurse.
Oh yes, we had that. South Africa. That was the tour in 1951. Dudley Nurse as captain.
And Dr. Leonie Hicks says, very lovely to hear Dr. Katie.
Indeed.
It was from one doctor to another.
Indeed. And Lawrence Jamieson has tweeted in to tell us that A diver has been killed by a great white shark off the coast of Western Australia, and says that if the fires don't get you, sharks will.
Dear. And meanwhile, the test match goes on in Australia throughout all the troubles.
With Australia giving New Zealand a bit of a
Well, yes, it was interesting to see this story about the debutant from New Zealand, Glenn Phillips, who's was called off his surfboard and was summoned over to make his debut in the New Zealand team. And he got his maiden 50 earlier on today. And he was telling the story at close of play that he'd literally was putting his chill box, or what do they call it, coolie, whatever, in the car when he got the call up at 4:20, and by 7 o'clock he was on a plane from New Zealand to Australia, and his wife and family managed to get over on the following day, and they've seen him score his maiden 50. What an amazing experience in front of a packed house.
Sounds a bit like Alistair Cook's call-up, the West Indies to Australia.
And it's interesting because Glenn Phillips is another one of these 2020 players that's making the transition to Test cricket. OK, we're back with the action now. You haven't missed anything because there's been a drinks break, as Rabada, who's put down his energy drink and has bowled the first ball to Denley, who leaves it alone. So,
what a jingle.
Yes.
Joe Denley, he's almost as old as this theme song, but Chef is gone and we need someone to bat at the top of the order. Joe Denley.
England 81 for 1 as Rabada bowls. That's driven back by Denley, and well, Sibley had to scramble back into his ground there because there could have been one of those run-outs at the non-striker's ends. It was hit back,
fielded by Rabada,
and that was it a fingertip from Rabada, and Sibley diving full length to get back in his ground, because that could have been one of those very unfortunate. Ever been run out there doing that, Mash?
Yeah, famously in year 10 on the top field at St Ola's Grammar School.
Yeah.
Nearly led to a riot. By me.
A one-man riot.
I predict a riot, and that's short from Rabada. It's a good bouncer. Denley ducks underneath it. You predicted a riot, and a riot surely manifested. England 81 for 1, Denley 21, Sibley 35. These two have put on 54 for this wicket. So, in the context of what has been quite a low-scoring match, you'd have to say this is pretty good partnership.
It's a big partnership for England at the moment, isn't it? Comparison to the game. I've got the Rabada jingle ready when you want me to, so
okay.
I'll wait until after this ball.
Yeah.
It's one of our favourites, so don't want to miss a chance.
Rabada outside the off stump, left by Denley. Let's jingle him up.
What's his name? He's a high roller, rock and roller, scariest, deadliest, killing this bowler. He can sink your oats like the Spanish Armada. No one faster, no one harder. What's his name? What's his name? Tell me, what's his name? KG.
I can see why you wanted to play that, Steve. It's one of the they're all good. That's one of the better ones. Here's Rabada short, and Denley climbs onto that one, and very nice shot. But there's a man down at deep mid wicket, so it was worth more than a single. So they get, and in fact they got two, didn't they? Or did
no,
they?
Just the one.
Just the one.
Yeah.
So Denley moves on to 22.
Might really look alike then.
The pictures that we're looking at are focusing on someone that I can't recognise, but I'm sure someone will tell us who it is.
I don't know.
No, Sibley on 35, Denley 22. Rabada, the man with the particularly good jingle, although Pretorius has to be a favourite. Here's Rabada, he bowls to Sibley, who plays a nice on drive, but that's well fielded by... Who do you reckon that is? Oh, that's Philander. Didn't recognise that stop, because normally when you see a man throwing himself to the right to stop a ball, it's not usually Vernon Philander.
Well, it's his last series though, so...
May as well give it a go. Ah, well, that's
caution to the wind.
I do recognise that one-time ITV presenter Rob Beckett there in with Romesh Raghunatha in the crowd, and how wonderful to see them. Obviously,
they're doing some TV.
They're doing some TV because there's two cameras
Ranga Nation
on them. Yeah, I'm part of Ranga Nation. So
I recognise the guy next to him on the right, but I can't remember what his name is.
Rob Beckett.
Oh, is that who you're talking about?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. With the beer. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. The presenters of various shows on, all over the place, but
They're probably doing some lad-esque show.
well, this Ramesh, what did you say the name of the show was?
Ranganation.
Yes, Ranganation. It's another one that he does as well. Yeah. It's
Jingle for Maharaj.
please.
There's a bowler there from South Africa. Started up bowling pace, but he made the swing.
Maharaj, well, the first ball was played by Denley for no run, and he plays the second ball to mid-wicket also for no run. Maharaj bowling his slow. How would you describe it?
He's offie, isn't he?
He's a slow
Well,
left
he's
arm
a left
orthodox.
lefty,
Slow
isn't he?
left
Yeah.
arm orthodox over the wicket, and Denley plays that one out without too much trouble. Nothing too threatening here for Joe Denley. Can he make it count this time? 22 from 82 balls, so it's been slow and steady, but no rush. Only on day 3 of this match.
He's danced down a couple of times.
Here's
hasn't he?
Maharaj, and that's he goes for a big shot that pitched outside the leg stump, so effectively a free hit as he plants his front foot down and aims to smoke that over leg side. Doesn't make any meaningful contact though.
It's like
yeah,
the third time he's tried that shot.
yeah,
Failed every single time.
you may as well go for it though.
Yeah.
It's free hit, isn't it? As long as you've got the stumps covered, you can't be out
Can't be
LBW.
able to, unless it's
pitched the
top edges
outside leg.
to fat.
And it is quite negative line of attack from Maharaj, and this one's played out by Denley for no run. And Sibley at the other end has got a chance to play his
Cement
first
his place.
substantial innings for England, because he's looked reasonably solid so far after some early 1 or 2 plays and misses early on. Packed fairly reasonably well attended again on this day 3 as Maharaj bowls to Denley doing on the back foot. That's fielded by this very silly, almost stupid mid-off, and there's no run. So the end of that over, Denley's on 22, Sibley 35, England 82 for 1. Mash.
I'm going to put something out to the cricket sphere to get involved in because the test match is in a bit of a holding pattern at the moment. So tweets, the Twitter sphere, our followers, here's something for you to get your Twitter fingers into. What are your cricket New Year's resolutions for that can be anything. You can define that however you want. It could be something for the world game. It could be something for your own personal cricket career. Whatever. What is your cricketing New Year's resolution? So I'll start one.
Yeah, I
off
was going
for
to
you.
say, give us a start, Mash. You've obviously got something on your mind.
My New Year's resolution for cricket. In fact, you know what? New Year's wish I'm calling this now.
Yeah,
Not
okay.
resolution, New Year's wish.
New Year's
My
wish.
New Year's wish is that when the West Indies tour England in June, we are competitive and win. I'll just go for competitive. When the West Indies tour England in June, we are competitive in the Test series and don't meekly surrender.
I think that the win was a given, Mash.
Well, the win at, of course, you remember the West Indies' last tour of England.
Yeah, because we won last time, so I'm now saying...
won that fantastic game at Headingley, where both Shea Hope and Craig Brathwaite scored centuries. Shea Hope 2 in 1 match, and Brathwaite almost 2 centuries. He's rather faded, Brathwaite, I should say, is rather faded in terms of his test output since then. But I know he was quite well appreciated when he played some county cricket, so maybe he'll come good on that tour. Norsha's into the attack. He bowls, and that's played off the back foot by Sibley. Let's jingle him up.
Here's his jingle.
If your number one project is to have yourself a bride, I think I've got to your number one guy. He was bought by a franchise when he was buying meat. It's Unrich Nokia.
That jingle settles the pronunciation issues, because it's obviously very close to Nokia, hence the ringtone, in case you didn't get that. Nokia, let's go for Nokia as my translation.
We're with you, David, on that.
So, yeah, what is your New Year's wish for cricket in 2020? Here is Denley waiting now for Nokia. It's short, and Denley plays that one away. Is it going to beat the fielder down? No, there's 2 fielders down on the policing the deep square leg boundary. It's Dean Elgar, it looks like, who does the fielding, or is that Let's call him Dean Elgar.
Yeah.
No one's going to know any better for now.
It looked like him.
It looked a bit like him. Certainly someone who it's either Dean Elgar or someone that looked remarkably like him. And 85 for what? Yeah, I'm trying to think what Steve, what's your New Year wish for cricket?
Well, my New Year wish would be, we were discussing this a little bit earlier on in the green room, Pat. What an extraordinary year for cricket 2019 was. You know, we had the World Cup, we had the Ashes, some good cricket series. And I suppose my wish is that 2020 sort of gets halfway close to being as good as that was.
You're a hard taskmaster. That's just drifting down the legs of Denley. Plays it onto the pad, gets a single down to square leg. Well, you've got the 2020 World Cup. Does that interest you?
Yeah, very much
Steve?
so.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah. In Australia, of course, in March. And then 2 touring teams, West Indies and Pakistan, touring England with a one-day series against Australia, the obligatory one-day series against Australia.
Happens every 10 seconds, doesn't it?
Absolutely, which is sort of slipped in the middle. But yeah, I'm particularly looking forward to the West Indies series, having been fortunate enough to be in the Caribbean for the Test series, where West Indies won, of course, 2-1, beating England earlier at the start of 2019. Here's Nokia. He bowls that short. This time it's Sibley, and he ducks underneath it. Sibley hasn't
So where is West Indies
that.
Test cricket at? Because your players are very, very committed on T20 series around the world.
It's on the revival. It's on the revival. I think the series against England is going to, which is West Indies' next Test assignment, is going to be a much more keenly contested series than people realise. West Indies Test team isn't a bad side when they put it all together. Yeah. We've got a resolution in though. Chris Paul says, my resolution is to follow Irish and women's cricket more and get some practice in the net pre-season.
Oh yes, let's get a net in. And also outside the off stump, Sibley lifts his arms, lets that one through. Yeah, pre-season net's always a good idea to avoid those early season looseners. You know, because the problem is you come on to bowl. In club cricket, at the start of the season, you haven't had a net. You go for 60 or 5, and you never get back on in the whole bloody season. That's what happened to me last year.
Did that happen to you then,
I never got another chance. It was like the captain looked at me and said, it's over.
This is the joy of being a batsman, because whether you fail or succeed, you have to come back again the next match. So.
Well, yeah, you can be shunted down the order, though. That happened to me as well.
As long as I played, I was happy.
Yeah, Nokia bowls, and that's played out by Sibley to his favourite onside, but there's a man, Milan, the man called Milan at short mid-wicket, covering that Sibley's favourite shot. It's 86 for 1 at the end of that over, lead by 132 England, Denley on 24, Sibley on 36. Mashal.
Yes, Kerry Narden says, given that the stumps look suspiciously like wooden stakes, wouldn't Dracula be afraid of getting out staked? And Nicholas Fuster says, I was going to criticise the selection of Crawley, but the last time I criticised the selection of a bloke who averaged low 30s in first-class cricket, he turned into the highest run scorer of 2019. So I'll reserve my judgment for the time being.
So that would have been...
Is that not Denley?
Would have been...
England or...
I presume he's referring.
Right.
No, let us know who that is specifically, Nicholas. Arthur Patricia says...
Oh, is it Labuschagne? It must be Labuschagne. Labuschagne. Here's Maharaj into a new over. And Sibley this time has made good contact, but it's Philander down there on the deep square leg boundary.
You can tell because he fell over fielding again.
Well, I hope it's him. I was saying that.
Yeah, no,
it was a 50-50 call on my part. That's one to Sibley, to Denley, who goes on to 25.
Arthur Patricia says, New Year's wish, a bloodless revolution in cricket administration to redistribute wealth to smaller and associate countries, here.
Well, you're very well said.
And the 100 made to look foolish. The 100 makes me look foolish by being successful and popular. Des follows that up by saying, hold on.
Maharaj to Sibley, who sort of squirts that ball away down to deep square. They take an easy single.
Des follows that up by saying that his New Year's resolution is to keep an open, non-judgmental mind about the 100.
Well, you'd be the only one at the moment. Certainly been a lack of buzz about it, given it's only a few months away. No tickets on sale yet. No rules and regulations. No umpires been appointed or anything yet. Outside the off stump, outside leg stump, I should say, padding up. Denley pads up to that. I think there's not all is going smoothly. That's what I've heard, but allegedly. England 88 for 1. Denley on 25 as he waits for Maharaj. He goes for his favourite shot, sweep. More chasing for Philander. He actually sort of lumbers around to field that one. And
I'd call it a stroll.
the stroll. And that's 1 to Denley on 26. Sibley now on strike on 37. So yeah, we want to know about your New Year's wishes for cricket, or your New Year's resolutions, either New Year's resolution or New Year wish.
Here's a second one I've got.
Yeah, go
I
on.
would love cricket boards around the world to stand up to the BCCI.
Well,
And that specifically, I'm talking to Australia and England.
well, indeed, yeah. Rather than
Have you seen that
rehashing
pig just flying past the
the
window?
mid three, Maharaj outside the off stump. Sibley leaves that alone. Yeah, I share your scepticism, Steve, because in fact what we're seeing is the re-emergence of the big three, aren't we? Attempting to do another heist on the game with this idea of
Four-day
the four, well, not just the 4-day
They
test.
want a
I was
series
thinking of
between
the-
themselves, don't they?
Yeah, the
Like
one-day
a super
series
series.
between India, Australia, England, and one other. Sibley forward defensive. Again, trying to sort of put themselves in a superior position because of their
Division
economics and finances are indeed
All there.
superior. So that's. But as you say, I think who was it? Patricia Arthur who said that. Arthur, what was it? Arthur Patricia.
Arthur Patricia.
Arthur Patricia, beg your pardon. Says that. Well, can you repeat what he said? I can't say.
A bloodless revolution in cricket administration to redistribute wealth to smaller and associate countries.
Has to be in the interests of cricket to have a more even playing field, so that you get more evenly contested test matches and international matches. Has to be in everyone's interest. You know, all these teams need someone to play against, and you can't play against the same two teams the whole time. England 89 for 1. They lead by 135. Day 3 from Newlands in Cape Town, and this partnership looking promising. It's already promising, and it's looking potentially more profitable. Denley.
Maybe they should take a leaf out of the Game of Thrones book and go for a bloody revolution rather than a bloodless one.
You're thinking of the sort of Kerry Packer type situation?
No,
or just
using swords.
Oh, I see.
Knives,
Just a bit of meaningless violence
to extricate them from their positions.
Right. But yeah, it's interesting to see what happens at the BCCI with Sourav Ganguly taking a senior position there. But
I think Knackle thinks he's a bit of a mouthpiece, doesn't he? So.
Seems to be operating that way.
Here's Nokia again outside the off stump, and then he leaves that one
I'm
alone.
sure Knackle will pick up on that when he's back on commentating later on.
But it's I mean, it's interesting because obviously you would have seen, or maybe you didn't see or hear, like Faf was kicking off.
Yes.
And I read it and I thought, yeah, well, Faf is right to kick off and say, well, listen, look what you lot are doing to the game. Even as South Africa, we can't get 5 test series and this and the other.
Yeah.
But I was like, Faf, this is too little too late. Lots of us have been saying this for a while now. Now that South Africa are being left out of the pie.
Here's Nokia again, and Sibley plays defensively to short mid-wicket. Well, that's fair enough, although all credit to him for speaking out. You know, it's always difficult for a player to speak out on these issues, and, you know, Faf, you judge someone by their actions, and he's someone who stayed loyal to Test cricket, stayed loyal to South Africa, despite the temptations to earn the easier money on the 2020 circuit, and or the Colpack circuit, but he's still toughed it out and taken on the responsibility of the captaincy. Jason Holder has said something similar, hasn't he? Last year, he called on the ICC to have a more even distribution because, you know, whilst there's no incentive for an England contracted player to play T20, there's every incentive for people from other countries to play forward defensive there by Denley. Every incentive for players from other countries who don't have the same value central contracts, you know, to leave their test careers behind, and that's what's happened to South Africa with all the Colpack players and West Indies, you know, with players favouring the short form game. And, you know, you've got Shimron Hetmeyer, they're earning $500,000 from for 6 weeks work hopefully at the IPL, you know, and that will dwarf his test match and one day white ball contract
for the whole
with West
year.
Indies, indeed.
Well, for a few years.
Yeah, Nokia, and Denley goes for his favourite shot and get down to deep mid wicket, and it's that pull off swivel pull. Just gets a single though because they've got a man out for that. And that it's really all you need to know about South Africa's approach today. It's been to keep the boundaries down and to try and keep the runs down. There hasn't been any real penetration since that opening barrage when we saw Rabada giving Zach Corley the treatment. He's the only wicket to fall. He was caught to cock, bowled Rabada. Rabada got his man in the end for 25, and since then that was at 28 for 1, and since then it's been England all the way, with Denley on 27, Sibley, who faces, on 37. He's backward defensive. He doesn't attempt the shot that that Denley just essayed. Sibley's been more cautious. He's waited for the ball on his legs. He's put those away. Also played a cover drive for full speed, which surprised you, didn't it?
Beautiful four, actually. Yeah.
I mean, you don't score that many.
Gower-esque, other than it was right-handed, not left-handed.
I mean, clearly,
Gower-esque.
Yeah. I mean, clearly, you don't score as many runs as Sibley has in the county championship without having an offside game. But
somewhere, yeah, but against not such a high quality of bowling attack.
But he's shown that he does have that shot.
Yeah,
but he's certainly, he's unhurried in his approach. That's for sure.
The South African approach to great.
And Nokia bowls. That's attempted on drive by Sibley. He looks at the bottom of his bat. He didn't make really good contact with that. End of that over. Sibley's on 37, Denley on 27, and England on 90 for 1.
With the current run rate of 2.27, the South African plan seems to be working.
Well, it's working up to a point in terms of whether if you're judging it on run rate, but that lead is just ticking up slowly, and it doesn't need to go up ridiculously more, does it? Another 100 on that, another 150 on that.
It starts to open up the question: is the pitch getting easier? Is 200, 250 going to be enough for a lead? I don't think so at the moment, because batting's not looking that difficult.
It's not looking difficult. I've got the odd ball here and there.
Certainly when Rabada and Philander are on, it's a little bit tougher. But Notcha doesn't seem to have be causing any great issue here. And Maharaj is just bowling to keep the run rate down, and he's continuing that way here.
Yeah, he's bowling that outside the leg stump line, and this time Denley makes contact, but just down to short fine leg for a single.
He's been doing this outside the leg stump line now since he came on for his spell. I don't know how many overs now are into his spell.
Doing an Ashley
Feels
Giles.
like 10, but what's the purpose here?
It is. I mean, Steve is right. It's purely defensive, isn't it? It's to keep the runs down. It can't just
be to be. It can't.
It's to keep the runs down so that the bowlers can steam in it from the other end. Is that the basic? Is that the basis of this?
I mean, it's got to be, but surely you'd want something slightly more attacking. It's not like the game's out of reach.
Well, it's still a slip and a short leg in there.
Round now, so
this is his 12th over. So
he has decided to come round the wicket.
Ooh.
You must have heard the conversation here in Sydenham. News travels fast. The message has gone out. Just try something.
Carrier pigeon.
Reminds me of the time I was as Maharaj bowls slow left arm, this time round the wicket, and that's played out by Sibley.
On the offside.
Onto the offside, yeah. They don't take a run there. Reminds me of the time looking at Maharaj. Reminds me of the time I was watching England versus Sri Lanka in Colombo, and Ashley Giles was bowling much this manner for all afternoon. It felt like, and just keeping the runs down. Here's Maharaj. That's played nicely by Sibley. He's found the gap. And that's going to go to the deep cover point boundary. You wouldn't put a fielder there for Sibley, and indeed there isn't one. So it's gone for 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Nice shot from Sibley. Yeah, so after Giles had been wielding away for about 3 hours in Colombo, a member of the Barmy Army shouted out very loudly, "For God's sake, spin one, Gilo." And Ashley Giles, instead of ignoring the remark, turned with his hands on his hips and glared at this guy. I thought that was a sign of culpability.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because one thing I've always wondered about cricket, mostly being a football fan and spectator in games. I'll hold off for a point.
Maharaj continues to Sibley, who plays a pleasant drive. He's going to look for a single here if they've dropped the man back. Long off for Sibley.
Yes.
Long off.
Poor fielding by Maharaj. He's just stopped that. Really,
do you really need a long off for Sibley? I wonder on this stage of the game. But he's taken the single on offer, and they go to 96.
So here's my question, and Twitter followers, by all means, tweeting: do cricket fans get angry? So you know how in football we always want to run on the pitch, and where sometimes you want to fight. Not me, but do cricket fans actually explode in rage? at inept actions on the field? I don't think so.
I don't think so. No, I've not seen it.
Maharaj to
maybe
Sibley.
down at Surrey they do, but Dr. Katie will tell us all about Guildford.
Like, have you ever seen a cricket fan after some ineptitude go, "Oh, for God damn you"?
Well, we have our share of angry.
Apart from Hendo,
and the bear.
We have our share of angry tweeters who might have a view on that, but do let us know about that. And indeed, Mashal's request for any tweeters to give us their New Year's wish or New Year's resolution for the year 2020. We're going to have a break at this point, and coming into the ball by ball will be John, and Knuckle and Katie are moving alongside us. Katie, I'm going to pass to you to say something interesting.
Well, my 2020 cricket resolution is to watch more cricket, particularly more county cricket, and I should have more opportunity to do that because I'm cleverly planning my maternity leave around the county season.
God bless modern family planning.
Absolutely.
You're listening to Gorilla Cricket's coverage of the second test between South Africa and England. England trail in the series at 1-0, but lead in this test match by 142 runs on second innings, then 96 for 1. Dominic Sibley closing in on a first test 50. He's 42 not out. Joe Denley's 27 not out, and taking you through to tea on ball by ball will be John Batham.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Knuckle. Good afternoon, Katie. Well, when I was last in here, England had just lost their first wicket of the second innings. So the whole time I've not been in here, which is like 4 sessions of commentary, I think, we haven't lost a wicket.
Get out.
Amazing.
Get out
I better go again, haven't I? Just in case something terrible happens.
Partnership of 68 between Sibley and Denley in 30.1 overs. We do have some tweets. Mr. Tyke says, "My wish for the new year is glorious, sunny and warm weather in April, May and September to maximise the opportunity for me and all other lovers of proper cricket to watch the county championship."
Here is Nokia, who bowls very short and it's ducked underneath by Dominic Sibley. It goes through to Quinton de Kock.
Both Maharaj and Nokia operating round the wicket to the right-handers.
Yeah, it seems that strikes me as quite a negative tactic, really.
It does, and yeah, I'm not sure it's working very well for them, but they seem happy with it at the moment. So
I think both sides. I think England are just sort of concentrating on slowly accumulating, and South Africa are almost bowling for an error, really.
Well, I mean, they've got this interesting field, which I'll come to after this ball.
Yeah, here comes Nokia again into Sibley, and that's on the leg stump, and it's played away square of the wicket on the leg side. That's a meat and drink shot to Sibley, really. It's fielded down there on the fence, and they've crossed for a single.
So they had the short leg and the leg gully in place for the one that gets fended off into the leg side, plus 2 men back on the hook. But Sibley played that very well. He just closes the face and slightly shovels it into the leg side, but plays that shot very well off the back foot with a kind of vertical bat.
Yeah, I mean, Nokia showed in the first innings that occasionally you can really get one to climb, can't he? And maybe that's what they're looking for, that one that just grows a bit big and you...
And with the uneven bounce...
You can't climb over the top of it.
I'm reminded of the Lord's Test in the Ashes when the pitch was a little bit up and down, and Archer was causing a lot of problems with the short ball because you couldn't duck out the way of it.
Here he is again anyway. He's up past umpire Damascena, and again that's very short, and Denley's not at all interested in that. He just ducks, and Quinton de Kock takes that above his head. No run.
I mean, you were saying South Africa are basically playing for England to make a mistake, and that's sort of reasonable because England batsmen have been making quite a lot of mistakes so far this series, but actually this innings they seem to be judging it a little bit better.
Yeah, I think there's been some solidity in the top 3. I mean, obviously the loss of Rory Burns probably hasn't helped, but Crawley looked positive in his brief-ish stay at the crease, but Denley and Sibley have looked pretty calm throughout most of their test careers, short and not quite so short, and respectively. So I think England do have... The makeup of England's top 3 has changed somewhat.
Here comes Nokia again. He's in and he bowls, and that one's outside off stump, and Denley plays it out to short cover.
Yeah, more normal. Well, I say normal.
Point-ish, I
guess.
So
Nokia went back over the wicket to Denley. Maybe it's a plan to Sibley because he's a little bit static at the crease. Chris Paul, say Withybush Hospital, says, this time last year I was with my girlfriend's family in Canberra watching the Big Bash and the India-Australia Test. This is a midday view from their house currently, and it looks apocalyptic. Donate to the Australian fighters, and is attached a link which we've retweeted.
Again, thoughts to everybody.
And remember not to
down
vote
under.
for climate change deniers, guys.
Nokia again, and again this is pushed forward by Denley. It's fielded on the offside, no run. I think part of the solidity of Denley and Sibley in this innings, though, is helped by the fact that we actually began the innings in front rather than
True.
playing catch-up again, which we so often do.
Yes.
Of course, it does help, and it does make things that much easier. But both are pretty calm operators in general.
Yeah, This is a conversation we've had about Denley many times. That sometimes he was thought to be too calm almost, and
laid back.
Too laid back and horizontal. Here's Nokia again, and Denley cuts this one just behind square. It's Maharaj down there on the fence who throws it back in. Slightly untidy throw, but Quinton de Kock sort of scrapes it up off the ground, and they cross for another single. 98 for one.
More tweets. Nicholas Fuster, in fact, no, Paul Howarth, in reference to our previous commentary triad, says Brooke Jones Hewitt. Quality broadcasting for a new cricket decade. Nicholas Fuster says, a wish of mine, Ireland to play some more tests in 2020, and so say all of us.
Yes.
Seeming sadly like this is becoming a bit wishful given recent cancellations. And I was referring to Labuschagne averaging 33 and 24 in that Shield season, but then ripped it up for Glamorgan and has taken to Test cricket like a duck to water. Dr. Leonie Hicks says, in answer to Mash's question, my experience of watching county cricket is that cricket fans moan a lot, followed by some gallows humour. And Matt Searle says, do cricket fans ever get really angry, and sends in a photo of some Indian cricket fans burning sort of Ganguly, I think that is, in effigy.
In effigy, we just point out, not actually the real.
Yeah, not the real thing. Yes.
Sigurd Saab says, due to the direct sunlight factor, Dracula would only be able to play for half of day-night games, or any game at all in Lancashire, badum. On the plus side, whoever makes and sells them neck guard yokes will be onto a winner.
Yeah.
And that is us up to date with tweets. We do have some people with us on Crit Tracker. Arun Kumar, David Richards, Arav Singh Jaggu, and a few more are with us on facebook.com/Crit Tracker is where you can watch that. We're also on YouTube. Go to YouTube and type in Guerrilla Cricket, or follow the link in our pinned tweet. And you can also follow us on our own Facebook page, facebook.com/Guerrilla Cricket.
The pitchers seem to have concentrated on Rob Brady applauding himself for balancing a pint of beer on his head. I'm not quite sure what the value of that was, but Maharaj bowls the next ball, and it's played out quietly by Denley, who's made his way to 28 from just over 100 balls. But we saw in the first innings he's not adverse to digging in this way. Here's Maharaj again, and Denley just lets that hit him on the pad outside leg stump. He actually went 48 balls in the first innings without scoring a run.
Wow.
Which was quite...
We need players like
well,
that.
exactly, we do.
I have no problem with that.
No, I
at
don't have
all.
any problem with it at all. I don't have any problem with it at all. This is Test cricket, and it's Test cricket for a reason.
So the lead's 144.
Ooh.
It is, yeah. So we're approaching 150 ahead.
That one did something weird out of the rough.
Yeah. Well, the rough is becoming more pronounceable, isn't it?
Yeah.
The dark patches on the pitch.
So that last ball spat from out of the rough and a little bit bounced.
Turned a lot.
And it came off the
hit him on the elbow.
Front pad into arm.
Again, he's just padded that one away because that's wide enough to not have to get the bat anywhere close to.
At the risk of sounding like Ian Botham and wanting 15 men around the bat, could South Africa find a way to get someone in short on the offside, maybe it's sort of silly mid-off?
Yeah, for a bat pad, yeah. You would have thought they could attack a little more.
Ooh.
Oh, this is rank. That's a real long hop from Maharaj. Fortunately, Denley doesn't really get hold of it. It goes down to long leg, and I think it's Kagisa Rabada out there on the fence throwing it back in.
It was Philander. With
it was Philander.
A sort of lazy lope to the ball. Yeah, I think Denley was surprised by quite how bad a ball that was.
Yeah, he didn't quite make the most of it. He was almost shocked that it was that bad.
It didn't really get to him either. Yeah, it's interesting for Sibley. They've only got one man in. I think one man in short. Certainly the slippers Slipper's moved out, and it looks as though they might be putting someone in short on the offside. Slipper's gone out into a sort of catching extra cover. Maharaj and Faf du Plessis are spending a long time setting this field.
And yet that's quite strange, because Sibley was nearly caught at slip earlier on, wasn't he, by Faf?
Yes, he was. One that turned a little bit from outside off stump.
And he played it too late. And
not had many jingles so far, so this is for England's score.
I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one.
Yeah, England
99 for 1.
99 for 1, yes.
And yeah, lead of 145. Is it too early to discuss declarations?
Yes.
Yes, far too early. An England collapse is never that far away, as we know only too well. Sibley cut that one out to point, and there was no run. It was the end of the over, 99 for 1.
Yeah, look, we're partway through day 3, aren't we? I don't think England need to think about declaring. I mean, England will not be batting at lunch or tea probably tomorrow, so I think it's a bit of a moot point.
So is that when you would start to think about it?
I wouldn't even start thinking about it until lunchtime tomorrow.
No, I wouldn't either.
I just bat until you get bowled out. And look, England will probably accelerate at some point if they're in a reasonable position. So I think unless England go absolutely stir crazy later in the day, which has been known at Cape Town from the man currently on screen, Ben Stokes.
Yes, he'd had a fantastic innings in his last game in Cape Town.
Yeah, which you were there for.
I was indeed there for. I took my German friend to her first ever day of cricket. So we saw Ben Stokes double 100, Johnny Bairstow's maiden 100, I think it was. And she was a bit bored by the whole thing, so I've kind of given up on that project.
And the rest of us, of course, are just jealous now. Yeah, absolutely. Here's Nokia again, coming into Denley, who tries to drive that one, doesn't quite get all of it. It's badly misfielded. That is Kagisa Rabada. Badly misfielding at mid-on, and it enables them to get 2 runs that shouldn't have been there, really. Maybe they would have got 1 anyway, because he was going away to his right-hand side.
I don't think they wanted the single at all. And that
in celebration of the 100.
Yes, indeed.
Which is now up 101 for 1.
Yeah, a slight bobble perhaps, but he certainly should have got himself his body behind it better than he did.
He didn't really do the long stop thing terribly well there, did he? Here's Nokia again into Denley. Oh, that's wild down the leg side. De Kock's done quite well to field that, and now wishes he hadn't, I think.
Oh, it's thumped into his wrist.
It's really whacked him on the hand.
De Kock is so athletic, he actually went slightly too far for it, and the glove went past the ball, and I think it thudded into his wrist.
He's got the glove off the left hand at the moment, and is down on his haunches. It was a wild delivery, speared down the leg side. Denley didn't make any contact with it. Yes, he's gone too far across with the glove, as Knackle says, and it's smashed into the wrist. And he winced at that. He's got the glove back on again now, but I think he'll be feeling that for some while.
He's holding his left hand a little bit gingerly.
He is. He's not very happy with that. Here's Nokia again into Denley. That's short and pulled by Denley, but again he doesn't get hold of it, and it just goes out to mid-wicket, no run.
Lawrence Jameson says Sibley, a proper real opener, using up lots of balls. Seems a likeable fella too. Sibley and Burns could be a solid new opening pair. Arthur Patricia says Sibley needs to score just 175 to bring his average in Test cricket to 40. Only 135 if he's not out.
Mere detail, yeah. I think at this precise moment he'd probably settle for a maiden Test 50, but we won't talk him out. Here's Nokia again, coming down past umpire Damasina, and that's outside off stump, and Denley tries to drive, fielded by Dean Elgar at cover, who's working on the ball furiously.
He's clearly been polishing the ball quite a lot.
His trousers are very red, aren't they? Yeah.
He's got his entire left hamstring is red, as is the inside of his right arm.
Yeah, and his right thigh as
well.
He's
obviously the designated polisher,
yes,
isn't he?
Every team's got one. Used to be Marcus Trescothick for England, I think Alistair Cook.
Yeah.
Designated polisher.
I think it's Joe Root now for England.
Yes, he does seem to grab hold of the ball quite a lot and polish it. Here's Nokia again. He's in and bowls. This is short again, and Denley goes for the hook. It's in the air. He could be caught, and he is caught.
Very well.
He is caught. Very well caught. Down at long leg. and the stand is broken. The stand of 73.
Denley just hit a couple straight to field as it looked a little bit antsy. That got big on him, and he was not in control of the hook shot. The pace and bounce and strength of Heinrich Nokia meant that Denley was not in control of the shot. And it's a very good catch by Dwayne Pretorius coming in from long leg. Had to go sort of fall low to his left.
As soon as he's hit it, Denley has whacked his bat against his pad because he knows that he's created that opportunity, and I guess that's what he's thrown his gloves on the ground as he steps over the boundary line. I don't think I would talk to him when he goes in the dressing room for a little while. I think I'd give him some room.
Joe Denley caught by Dwayne Pretorius, caught by ball by Heinrich Nokia.
31
off 111 with only 3 fours in that time. A good partnership of 73 for the second wicket. That will bring the England captain to the crease.
I do believe that's exactly the same score as he made in the first innings as well. So I believe he's been out for 31 twice in the match.
Let's just look that up. I think you may well be right. 38 he got.
He got 38 in the first innings. Somebody else must have got 31, I think. But yeah, I think that's what I was trying to say earlier, really, that South Africa were kind of bowling negatively and bowling for an error and just trying to dry it up and frustrate. And I think, Denley had a couple of sweeps at Maharaj when he was bowling outside leg stump, and
he did a couple of drives straight to fielders, which he does a lot, but
and I think it just got to him a little bit. I think the frustration got to him, and he's
eventually
played an injudicious hook shot, and
a shot he was never really going to be able to control. Not an innings without value, because it has grown England's lead, and England's captain does now walk to the middle.
His voice is high-pitched and ginger hair like a pick, but massive runs he has hit, so there's that. Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root, actually.
I like that jingle as well. Joe Root, actually.
Yep, so let's see if this chap can kind of build on what we've got already. He has, in the past, occasionally played a bit of a kind of defensive innings, which is sort of what's called for now. Yeah, a little bit more sensible.
Steady accumulation, I think, is the order of the day.
But he's not done it that much recently.
Here's Nokia. Of course, Nokia got Root out in the first innings with a short ball, which
that was a brute.
Root didn't get his hands out the way of, did he? He took his eye off it, and he didn't get his hands out the way. And
that was a very difficult delivery that he got though from Nokia in the first innings. It was almost unplayable. We're seeing it now.
Well, it was a very straight short ball, wasn't it? It was very well directed, but Root did take his eyes off it completely, and he didn't get his hands out the way.
No, he didn't play it particularly well, but it was a pretty good ball.
That was a better way to play a short ball.
Hands dropped right down.
Yeah, exactly.
Eyes on the ball. Yeah, for sure. Durbanoki says 6 minutes ago, well, with Pom. I've turned back. The batting looks a lot easier. Martin Jones says, thoughts on reducing the championship schedule to better allow young fast bowlers to not break. 2 divisions of 9, 8 matches each. So only playing each team once, okay. Would only mean max 32 days of red ball cricket to survive and only 1 championship game every 2 weeks. Then batters face pace too. I don't think that many people are calling for less championship cricket.
No, I'm going to boo and hiss at that.
Yeah,
I'm afraid.
I want to be able to watch my team playing every week, so I'm not going to agree with that.
I'm going to boo and hiss.
I mean, yes, they do say that that's one of the reasons that bowlers get injured is playing too much
Maharaj
cricket.
Into Sibley, who lets that hit him on the pad, because again it's outside leg stump.
But that just doesn't seem to tally with the fact that in the past bowlers played much more cricket.
Yeah, yes,
championship cricket.
It's true. Although I think the average pace has probably gone up in recent years.
Yeah, possibly.
Here's Maharaj again to Sibley.
Ooh.
And that one turns a lot. That one turned a lot from out of the rough, and by the time Sibley actually made contact with it, it was probably on middle and off, I would think, and he pushed it back down the wicket.
There was someone, I can't remember who it was, from 60s or 70s that was mentioned yesterday. There's this ball.
And that's just played out on the leg side, past short leg, who runs back to pick it up. Again, there's no run.
Who played something like 50 innings in a season, of which 33 were county championship innings. And that was not atypical at the time. So I'm not sure that playing too much, it's not something that suddenly happened.
Here's Maharaj in again, bowls to Sibley, and Sibley is again forward, and that one goes out on the offside square of the wicket this time, and is picked up and thrown back in, and no run.
You have to strike that balance, don't you? Obviously, you can't completely run bowlers into the ground, but then they had to be bowling enough to be able to get their skills up and keep their fitness up to a certain level. Not playing enough is equally as damaging, or can be, as playing too much. So I think the balance lies somewhere in the middle. And also from a competition point of view, I'll come to that after this ball from Maharaj.
And he's in again, and he bowls to Sibley, and that one turns as well and bounces a little bit, but Sibley manages to get his weight forward and play the ball into the ground.
If you're only playing each team once in a season, that means you're playing them home or away, which introduces all sorts of issues depending on whether you're playing them home and away. It's like the Six Nations a little bit, can be vastly different depending on how many home games you're playing and who you're playing at home.
And it also means you're going to get
Maharaj
virtually
again, and that was a bit shorter, and Sibley's able to stand up and play it out on the offside. That's the end of the over. It's a maiden. 14 overs, number 29 now for Maharaj. It's 101 for 2. I mean, I know that there was. I had the pleasure a year or so ago of interviewing Keith Fletcher about his reminiscences of the great Keith Boyce, and he was saying that in his day the amount of work for fast bowlers was ridiculous, and he talked about the fact that there was one season where he thinks Essex played 23 days in a row, and he thinks that Boyce bowled on every single one of them.
I mean, that's obviously stupid.
It'd be great.
And obviously, eventually, Boyce's career was finished by knee injuries because he just over bowled.
And you can't bowl at full pace at any point during that. So you're getting cricket played at 80% intensity,
of course,
which is not. I understand that from a career point of view and wanting to have a long career and so forth, but it is not particularly exciting.
Here's Nokia into Root, who pulls that one away. There's a man coming round the fence. I don't know whether that was Pretorius. Yes, I think it was Pretorius, and he threw the ball back in, and Root goes through for a single. Moves on to off the mark, in fact. Off the mark.
A few comments on YouTube. As Zahir Ramzan says, hello, England in a commanding position. Indeed they are, despite the loss of that wicket. A.D. Bryan says, angry cricket fans. I remember many Surrey fans, myself including, getting more than a bit miffed with Surrey's county championship performances last season. He's put performances in inverted commas. It's certainly true if you're sitting near the self-described Peter May boys, you will hear a lot of grumbling and griping.
Well, I think the season after you've won the championship is always very difficult, because if you're not winning it again, then you're immediately comparing it with what's just gone before, aren't you? And Middlesex had that problem a year or two back too. Yeah,
I mean, Lancashire won it and then went down.
Yorkshire did that in the early 2000s.
They did indeed. Here's Nokia again. He's in, he bowls, and that's well pitched up and driven back down the onside of the pitch, and Rabada, who fumbled one a couple of minutes ago, manages to get hold of that one.
A little bit of swing into the right-hander there. I wonder if the ball's starting to reverse a little bit. It's quite a hard outfield, almost corrugated in places. It is very dry out there in Cape Town, though I think the drought of a couple of years ago has settled. I mean, Sussex were the dominant team in county cricket in the mid-2000s and are now languishing in the sort of upper middle of Division 2.
Yeah, they are indeed.
It is quite nice in some ways how the fortunes of different counties do change quite a lot in quite a short time.
Unless you're Leicestershire.
Yes. Nokia into Sibley, who stands up tall and plays that out to cover.
Or Glamorgan.
Yeah, Leicestershire and Glamorgan are sort of just in the vortex now.
But it hasn't been that long. We can all think, well, okay, not necessarily for Glamorgan, but you can think back to when Leicestershire were a force, and I suspect that will be the case again.
Yeah, I mean, they are in limited overs cricket.
Yeah.
Certainly T20 cricket, where they've been pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sussex media guys would say that the issue at Sussex at the moment tends to be the inexperienced nature of their batting, and so therefore
Yeah, well,
it's a little
not
bit
dissimilar to Middlesex in that
It's a little bit wobbly.
They've got some great bowlers at Sussex. It's always terrifying going there because you know that the bowlers are going to be good.
Well, yeah, I mean,
So-
you could, in theory, I mean, it's unlikely, but you could have Archer and Jordan. They had Ishant Sharma at the start of last season, Rashid Khan in the T20.
Nokia's now coming round the wicket to Sibley. That's quite short, and Sibley manages to play it down into the ground, fielded at short leg by Dean Elgar, I think.
Peter Milan.
Oh, it's Peter Milan under the helmet.
Yeah, he's been.
Well, that's a new boy's job, I suppose.
Yeah,
is
he's
it?
been
Yes.
there. He's been there all day. At some point, he was jumping from one side of the wicket to the other when Rabada was bowling.
Yes, he was, because he was, literally going square on one side. And
Yeah, but this does seem to be a Sibley specific plan. So we've got a slip,
it's a bowl
gully,
short,
a deep point out there on the boundary, a cover mid off, mid on, sort of almost at mid wicket, regular square leg, short leg, leg gully, and a long leg.
They're looking for that ball that climbs that he can't control. Here's Nokia again. He's in. He bowls, and Sibley gets this one away on the leg side and gets it down to long leg. Pretorius is into field, and they cross for another single.
He's played it well so far, Sibley.
Yeah, he's done well. He seems to be much more decisive in his movements today.
Yeah, front foot and back foot. Like he's getting properly back to those short balls, and he's standing up tall and riding the bounce. Able to play it with a vertical bat, which is not easy. I think the best I've ever seen playing off the back foot with a vertical bat is the man who's currently South Africa's batting consultant, Jacques Callis, who is absolutely superb at that. Not an easy skill. We do have a couple of tweets. Fuku Live says England have 4 players under 23. When was the last time this happened? And is there a good website or app for this kind of stat? I don't think the stats guru filter on Cricinfo I think is not so good with age. I don't think they have age in there. So I think you have to do some manual digging.
Oh, I've never been any good at that. I can manage.
Back over the wicket,
Stats
Nokia. That's short, and Root plays a very unconvincing pull shot, which goes out to sort of wide mid-on, where Rabada does the fielding. That's the end of that over. It's 1 for 24 for Nokia now from 10 overs, 104 for 2, and England lead by 150.
Paul Howard says, agree, Maharaj is mystifyingly negative. Bowling in the third innings with your side behind in the game, earn your corn. You may have heard in the first test, I have a theory that they don't feed Keshav Maharaj. He stands in the corner of the braai with a sign on him saying, don't feed the spinner.
But then having said that, he bowled that negative line, and the bowler that he was bowling in tandem with got the wicket.
Oh, yeah, not dissimilar to slightly more extreme than how Dom Bess was bowling, but he has shown control. His first 2 overs were maidens, and he's got a little bit of turn out of the wicket from that rough. Dave Cricket says anything to do with the newspaper that is also a celestial body needs avoiding. Guerrilla Cricket is a good listen. Quite right, we are. Durbanoki says the collapse is on.
Oh.
I've just googled. So I was trying to remember the name of the Sussex bowler that struck fear into the heart a couple of years ago, and so I googled Sussex bowlers, and it comes up with John Wisden and Brendan McCullum.
Maharaj into Root, who reverse sweeps that, and it's going to go all the way down to the boundary for 4.
The number of the day. Who could ask for more? The number of the day is 4.
Yeah, very nice to play from out of the rough. Obviously, no danger of being at LBW from that line, and with no one at third man back on the boundary, it's a perfectly safe shot. You think Tamal Mills? Maybe.
Yes.
In the T20s.
It wasn't him that I was thinking of, but yes, he was in there too. Someone, I remember Somerset had a game 2 or 3 years ago against Sussex and were absolutely annihilated by a bowler.
Ollie Robinson's taking a bunch of wickets, but he's not exactly someone to terrify anyone.
No, it was
Here's Maharaj again, and Root goes to sweep one again, completely misses it, and I think that's actually hit Quinton de Kock in the face guard, isn't it? Or in the helmet guard.
That was a genuine switch hit from Joe Root.
Yeah, he tries to play the switch hit, he misses it completely, it turns, and it's actually hit de Kock in the chest. Hands to head from Maharaj.
Well, they've left that gap for Root to reverse. He played the first one very well, but that was way too short for that shot.
De Kock's been in the wars in the last few overs. Here's Maharaj again outside leg stump, this time Root plays a much more conservative shot out on the offside, and they jog through for a single.
Kerry Narden says, Tests, ODIs, T20s, T10 and the hundreds are all passé. Weekly Super Over World Cup is the future. Every cricketing nation has a chance. It's all over in an hour. Maybe too slow for kids these days. Kids these days, no respect. Rattles walking frame in a curmudgeonly fashion. Martin Jones says, would you rather watch more cricket or better cricket? The days of teams playing 20-plus games with attacks of 3 medium pacers and 2 spinners, then doing more drinking than exercise between times are very much past. As I was saying, there is a balance to be struck.
There is indeed.
Yeah, I'm not very good at spotting what's good cricket and what's bad, so I'd go with more. But I realise that that's me.
Here's Maharaj to Sibley, who props forward and plays that to Milan at short leg.
I find it very difficult to be bored by cricket, but I think that's partly because there's so much variety in cricket these days, is that almost every game is slightly different, and I don't want all games to be like anything, if that makes any sense.
Maharaj into Sibley, who props forward and plays this back along the offside. This may be the last ball before tea.
Could well be. That's interesting. Zubair Hamza at cover, who has not had much to do in the field in this session.
Yeah,
just trying to keep himself busy.
Which
I like, because obviously not allowed to run on the pitch, and then did a lap and returned to his round the keeper and returned to his fielding position.
Here's Maharaj again to Sibley, who just again props forward. Is that going to be tea on day 3? Or are we going to get another over?
Shouldn't do. It's 11 minutes past 1.
The umpire seems to be having a word with Maharaj about where he's landing on the pitch. But yeah, they are going off for tea. So that's tea on day 3, 109 for 2 England. Lead by 155. So they made 63 runs in that session for the loss of Joe Denley. 57 runs for the loss of Joe Denley. So even less runs. So two and over through the afternoon. An afternoon for the purists, perhaps, Katie.
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I think there's been what we've seen in South Africa is they haven't been short of different types of plan. They've had Maharaj bowling over the wicket, then round the wicket. They've had Nortje bowling short, over and round the wicket, and getting that reward with Denley. And now they're switching the line of attack with Maharaj going back over the wicket again. I think there's been turn and bounce out of the rough, and England have looked comfortable enough in terms of but they haven't been able to score quickly, and South Africa have made them sweat for it. It's been an interesting session, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess given the context of the game, you would probably still give that session to England.
Oh yeah, for sure. 57 for 1, lead 155. Still 2 days and a session left to go in the Test match, and the pitch showing signs of wear and tear. Yeah, there's England are very much on top in this game, but they are not home and dry. They could not even be said to be home and vigorously toweling themselves off.
Well, no, we know only too well what can happen with England. This is the thing.
It's not even just with England, just that cricket moves really fast sometimes, and particularly on spicy pitches. Edward Smith asked a question which I think will leave well, maybe not all wrap through some tweets, but Edward Smith has a good question. How many runs would be a good lead for England on this pitch, which is the question that's kind of exercising all of us, I think, at the moment. Peter Lloyd says, although in the past players did play a lot of games in the season, a lot less of them, or fewer of them, I guess, would have been played abroad in the off-season, which is true.
That is true.
Yeah.
Arthur Patricia says, Leicestershire were dominant in the 90s under James Whittaker, though now they're pants. Like the Leicester rugby team, prior to the Faustian pact for Leicester City winning the Premier League, presumably. There's some talk which was pushed by Annie Chave, who was asking for votes for their county cricketer of the decade. Paul Moreau says Marcus Trescothick was his first choice, but Darren Stevens would be a good shout.
Certainly for having been there for the whole decade.
Yes.
And Martin Jones, this is a nice little bit of research. Last I'll say on the topic, but nobody plays as many matches as the county championship does. So in Afghanistan there's 9 first-class games. In Australia it's each team plays 10 plus the final. Bangladesh it's 6. England 14. India 8 plus maximum 3 knockouts. Ireland 4. New Zealand, Pakistan and South Africa 10 plus the West Indies also 10. Sri Lanka 6 plus 4 knockouts, and Zimbabwe 8. So that's good digging, Martin. Very good.
Yeah, very good.
But yeah, it's certainly true that England. There's a lot of cricket that England have to play both at international and domestic level, crammed into. Well, yes, the blanket is never long enough.
So the tactic for England after tea
just keep batting.
Will be just keep batting, won't it? Really, and try and set a platform, I guess, for others like Stokes. And
do you think it's the point now where they can start to kick on a bit and not be quite so careful of their wickets with a 155 lead, or do you think wait until you get it up to 180, maybe even 200?
I mean, well, it depends how quickly you get there, I guess, to some extent. But we could end up in a situation where the scoring accelerates in the final session, which does sometimes happen. How tired South Africa's bowlers will be is an open question, because they do seem pretty energetic still at this point, and there's plenty in the wicket. But I don't think they'll be thinking about it too much. Certainly for the first sort of half an hour of the evening session, I think
they'll bat fairly normally, just because there's that much time left in the game, and what you don't want to be is too aggressive and end up getting bowled out, and then all of a sudden the opposition's got nearly 2 days to get 260 or whatever.
That's true.
You know, that would be tricky, I think. But I must say it would be interesting to know whether anyone looks likely to be close on the GPL, because there's not been many runs.
The lowest is 204. Everyone's gone a little bit lower today than they did yesterday, having been burned a little bit. But yeah, they range from 204 to 274, so it's possible, but it will require an acceleration in the final session, which we do often see. We'll get off air for a little while and give ourselves a break for the next 10 minutes or so.
I'll give you a quick theme tune, and then we'll decide what else you can listen to in the interim.
Day, and now the time has come to smite the old